Chapter 505. Yes. Song Yangyu said calmly, but Sexton's eye has not been refined, and there are dangers everywhere. I do not wish for you to be in danger too early. But the situation is urgent, and I am not sure if I can hold on until that day, so I invited you over. Although this will put you in danger, but I think your fate can only be decided by you. It was this young man in front of him. Then he froze in place, seeing the row of people in front of him. He was dumbstruck. Bing's gaze landed on the spirit general in the ice coffin, and as though he was struck by lightning, his mind went blank. As expected, it was me. The old man scrutinized him for a moment, his expression excited. You really look like him. Your surname is Tang, right? What's your name? Tang Tian quietly left, sneaking into the main courtyard. By Tian Bing already knew the entire defense of the groundsmaster establishment like the back of his hand. Without alerting anyone, they arrived at the main courtyard. Bing floated out. Yaya jumped onto Tang Tian's left shoulder and made faces at everyone. Little Fool held onto an umbrella and floated beside Tang Tian with an indifferent face. This is a spirit general that he entrusted to me, an incomplete spirit general. This is the place he chose, because it will allow this incomplete spirit general to not dissipate. This spirit general is very ancient. He has always been screaming for 16 years. He has never stopped. Don't be scared. It is said that he has been screaming for 10,000 years. Ding Chen and the rest had long seen how powerful their boss was, and naturally did not have any doubts. Different from the other classes, Ding Chen and the rest had always been practicing, with a serious attitude. Different from the other disciples, Ding Chen and the rest firmly believed that Boss Acho would definitely be able to bring them out alive. Tang Tian's figure landed on the ice wall, and once again faced Song Yangyu and the rest. His face was gloomy. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran only saw a blur, and lost sight of Tang Tian. The two of them were shocked, and wanted to block in front of Song Yangyu, but a gust of wind brushed past them. The fog tortoise suddenly transformed into a ball of fog, and quickly shrunk, becoming a door made of fog. I am Tang Tian. Tang Tian said. An old voice came out from the door. The situation is really dire. Bing appeared, his tone was somewhat worried. This defense is completely like tofu. It is impossible to defend against a sneak attack. Damn it. The other party was even younger than her. She suddenly recalled the thought she had during the day. Did geniuses really exist in this world? He suddenly raised both of his arms and roared, Southern Cross Army, advance. Tang Tian stared blankly at Song Yangyu. That makes sense. Tang Tian was moved by Bing's words. Fu Zihong stared dumbfoundedly at Tang Tian. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran's faces changed, their eyes revealing a faint killing intent. This person had changed his appearance to sneak into the residence. He definitely did not have any good intentions. Wrench, wrench, give me a wrench. Hurry up, hurry up. The muscles on his face kept changing, and soon he revealed his true appearance. Did the murderous look of the two door gods look like this? The young man's afterimage appeared in front of Song Yangyu like the wind. His hand had already touched Song Yangyu's body, grabbing him. It had been a long time since he had fallen into such a passive situation. His body, directly passed through Song Yangyu's body, as if passing through a ball of mist. There really is. Tang Tian could not be bothered. The past 4 hours had already tormented him to the point of suffocation. But thinking about it, he was no different from the other saints. He was also here for Sexton's eye, but now he was actually helping the Song Yang fighting grounds to defend against those people. Bing stared blankly at the spirit general, his tears flowing uncontrollably. The middle-aged uncle squatted on the ground, wailing loudly, sobbing silently, like a child. Fu Zhongshan was powerful. He was definitely not his opponent, and this Yang Haoran's aura was similarly unfathomable. Tang Tian's body trembled, his eyes suddenly shooting out an astonishing light aura. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran's eyes revealed a look of shock. In that moment, the young man in front of them seemed to have changed into another person, his entire person releasing an astonishing aura. Song Yangyu grinned, but did not reply. I have waited here for a long time, and finally you are here. That day when you were repairing the walls in the west courtyard, the fog tortoise smelled your aura. Please believe us, we do not have any enmity. The old man laughed. The shock in Fu Zihong's heart was the strongest. She stared blankly at the calm-faced young man in front of her. The face that was still filled with childishness was now filled with seriousness. That strong aura, compared to her father and second uncle, was not one bit inferior. Since they had laid their cards on the table, Tang Tian no longer had any scruples. Bia Cho. I have no choice. Bing thought for a while. Why don't we make the first move? Just now when we were setting up the defense, I had already carefully investigated that Sexton's eye should be underground. Hey, little rascal, I am called Screw. When you grow up, I will make a mechanical weapon for you. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Hao Ran stood on his left and right, releasing an imposing aura, causing Tang Tian to feel his mouth dry up. This damned Uncle Bing, he does not even dare to show his head, this unloyal fellow, and still said that the best time was the best time to walk into the trap. But in the next moment, his pupils constricted, his hand actually directly passed through the opponent's body. How is it possible? So fast. Then Tang Tian's body froze in place. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Hao Ran were startled. Fu Zihong's reaction was the fastest. She almost cried out in surprise. She anxiously used her hands to cover her mouth, but when she looked at Tang Tian, her gaze was filled with shock. Very quickly, Fu Zhongshan and Yang Hao Ran also reacted, their faces changing again. And the old man, he obviously did not have any imposing aura, but he was as faint as the air. This strange feeling made Tang Tian's hair stand. So when Bing arranged the drill, all of them carried it out resolutely, without any sloppiness. Their lives were their own. Song Yangyu floated to the ice wall and said to Tang Tian, "Please drip a drop of blood on it." Tang Tian, master of Ursa Major Constellation. Fu Zihong blurted out. She was completely stunned. She had thought that Bia Cho had a big background, but she did not think that it would be so big. It was as if he was being immobilized. The cigarette in his fingers dropped to the ground, but he did not feel it. He stared blankly at the ice coffin. Song Yangyu's words caused everyone to be shocked. You look like him. Song Yangyu revealed a look of reminiscence. Oh, he also has a spirit general by his side, who is very powerful. Other than Sexton's eye, he also asked me to take care of an ice coffin. Please follow me. The joints are severely damaged. Give me the number 3 joint. All of you move faster. Hold on. Do not fall. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Hao Ran's faces changed. On the way back to the western courtyard, all the disciples looked at him with weird gazes, as though they were looking at a monster. Night fell. Fu Zihong had specially researched on this miracle. That's right, in her eyes, it was a miracle, something that could not be replicated. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. If I leave, who will fix it for you? Returning to the western courtyard's encampment, Tang Tian then relaxed. The fog tortoise's gigantic head was right in front of him, but he actually did not hear any sound without any warning. Please come in. Ursa Major Constellation is not your future. This. Of course, Tang Tian did not dare to say that, although he was stupid, but he was not stupid. In such a situation where he could not turn things around, if he continued to pester, it would be courting death. He had not found Sexton's eye, and had not met up with Chie. He did not want to die. Number 261, many are broken. Captain don't die. Exon don't die. Little brat don't die. There was no enmity. In the transparent ice coffin, a skinny and withered spirit general, both of his legs were gone, his arms were as thin as firewood, as though he was convulsing. He was moving in the air, as though he was holding on to something. His withered face was focused, sometimes crazy, and his mouth was muttering words. Tang Tian squinted his eyes, and asked word by word, "You know who I am?" Fu Zhongshan and Yang Hao Ran's faces changed at the same time. How could they not know of Tang Tian's name? The current Tang Tian was like the sun in the sky, a tyrant of a region. They had never thought that the dignified Lord of Ursa Major would actually personally sneak into the groundsmaster establishment. I'm sorry, I don't know who he is either. Song Yangyu was indifferent. He saved my life, and left me an inheritance, and then asked me to help him safeguard a few things. He said that if he could not come, his son would. I promised him, and 16 years have passed, and now you're here. What made Tang Tian's heart sink was that he could not use blink. The cave was filled with cold waves, and he was completely unable to use blink. Tang Tian's face darkened. Without saying a word, he cut his finger and dripped a few drops of blood onto the ice surface. The ice wall melted at a speed visible to the naked eye, and a transparent ice coffin appeared in front of everyone. Trap? Ambush? My chi! Tang Tian was confused. Then what do we do? Tang Tian waved his hand. You are his son. Tsang Yangyu smiled. Tang Tian was also stunned by Tsang Yangyu's words. He did not think much and asked, why? Tang Tian's eyes lit up. Underground? Bing's expression was solemn. There must be an entrance, we just need to find it. Tonight is a good opportunity. There was such a huge commotion last night. The group of idiots outside will definitely not make any movements for the next 2 days. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran are injured and will definitely recover at this time, and this is the weakest time for the Zongyang fighting grounds. Fu Zihong looked at the person and could not help but exclaim, she never thought that the person who would come at night would actually be Bai Cho. It was the young man in front of her, who relied on his own strength to forcefully raise the third-grade Ursa Major constellation to become an existence that was second only to the Honorable Martial Alliance, Onyx Sol, and the Ecliptic Palace constellations. Tang Tian felt the blood in his body almost congealing. In front of him, the originally heavily injured Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran were brimming with energy. That imposing aura caused his scalp to go numb. This was too unbelievable. Tang Tian jumped in fright, but after hesitating for a while, he stepped through the door. Upon stepping through the door of smoke, he only felt the scenery in front of him rapidly changing, and the air became extremely cold. You're finally here. The old man slowly opened his mouth, his wrinkled face, revealing a smile. Please return to your original appearance. Chapter 506. That's right. Bing said solemnly, the single-valve stronghold's idea is to force the enemy to split up and form a one-on-one situation. But, that is the stronghold's valve entrance, the attacks will be extremely intense, and the battles will be frequent, so we need a strong person to guard it. No need. Bing said. The single-valve stronghold has another use. It can gather the energy dissipated from the battles, and when the gathered energy reaches a critical point, it can form an energy layer, and from there, seal the valve and obtain the opportunity to rest. Bing's expression returned to normal, and there were no traces of him losing his composure. Tang Tian nodded his head vigorously. The surroundings were quiet, everyone was stunned by Bing's reaction. Only Tang Tian thought of something and asked with concern, Uncle. No one can stop it, no one, not even 10,000 years of time can stop it. It happily took the star rock and started to chew on it. He paused for a while, then said solemnly, but I am not lying. Fu Zhongshan's strength is stronger than yours, but his potential and endurance are far from yours. I believe in your endurance and ability to take it. This is a gamble, and also an extremely good opportunity. In the past, all of you spared no effort to protect me, now I can finally protect all of you. Fu Zhongshan and the rest were shocked by Master's words. Everyone looked at each other, but no one made a sound. Yang Haoran nodded his head helplessly. That's the only way. Tang Tian was taken aback by Tsang Yangyu's trust in him. Me? No, Tang Tian will guard the stronghold. Bing said, I only trust him. Yaya was so excited that it somersaulted, squeaking and shaking its butt. Little fool is playing with it again. Tang Tun patted his chest, bursting with confidence. Don't worry. This godlike young lad will definitely beat them until they look for their teeth on the floor. Screw, I want to bring you back to the army, I want to cure you, I want to bring you to Xia Exin, we want to bring you to find the commander, even we did not die, the commander is such a monster, how can he die? Fu Zhongshan was also helpless. Bing looked like he was not bad. Why did he take such a risk? To let Tang Tian take such a risk, was it worth it? However, he knew that the other party wouldn't listen to what he said, so he could only say, let's all stay alert. If anything goes wrong, we'll attack. Fu Zihong saw that everyone's atmosphere was somewhat stiff and quickly said, "What about the materials?" "I'll go," Fu Zhongshan said in a low voice. He was the strongest among them, so he stood up without hesitation. "Renovate the city lord's mansion," Bing said solemnly. "I followed Zihong to see the entire groundsmaster establishment. Initially when we were constructing it, we referenced the structure of many strongholds. If it's like that, we can transform it into a single-valve stronghold. Let's gather and drink to our heart's content." Tang Tian beamed with joy. "Really? Ah, so I'm actually this strong. That sounds great. Now that you mention it, I think it makes a lot of sense." Not far away, Fu Zihong heard the conversation between the two and was completely dumbfounded. Was it really not murder? Actually, this uncle was a spy sent by the enemy. Which subordinate would instigate their own leader to take such a risk? Which leader would be stupid enough to rush to the most dangerous place? Bing scoffed. "But we still need to take advantage of the time before those assholes outside react, to make some preparations." Little Fool hesitated for a moment, but still picked up a star rock. "All right, to prevent this brat from bothering me, I will reluctantly put on an act. I am not happy that I am not able to die together with all of you in the last battle. I am really not happy. Compared to being afraid of death, I am more afraid of leaving all of you." When the sun rose at dawn, the entire groundsmaster establishment had changed beyond recognition. In the martial spirit chamber, Little Fool floated in the air, lost in thought. "We will fight side by side. This brat has grown up, he has become braver." Bing smiled mysteriously. "You will know when the time comes. Because it requires star power, Sexton's constellation's star power." Song Yangyu explained. "Only Sexton's constellation's star power can allow Sexton's eye to complete its transformation. This is what he instructed me to do. We will sing the war song together." Tang Tian did not decline. Although he still had many suspicions, but he could hear that Song Yangyu and that person's relationship was not shallow. He nodded his head. "All right then, let's do it. I will guard the pass." Bing's words made Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran angry. Yang Haoran wanted to say something, but was stopped by Fu Zhongshan. Fu Zhongshan said solemnly, "If it doesn't work, we will change the general when the time comes." Little Fool slowly nibbled on the star rocks and rolled his eyes in his heart. When will this kind of life come to an end? Suddenly, he remembered that Bing once said that the crippled spirit general was his comrade. Could it be that he also came from 10,000 years ago? 20 days. Song Yangyu continued. "Once the refinement is complete, Sexton's eye will have a function. It can produce a temporary star door. The range is within Sexton's constellation, and we can use it to leave." Little Fool was startled by Yaya's babbling. He was slightly angry. But when he saw Yaya's fawning look, his anger was slowly extinguished. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Haoran, who were far away, looked at each other. They were dumbstruck. Initially, they wanted Tang Tian to guard the pass because of this. Now that the situation was critical, they had time to discuss all the suspicions. They had to pass this pass first. The enemy could launch a sneak attack at any time. The most important thing now was to immediately build the stronghold. "I'm fine. I've let everyone see a joke. He's my comrade. I never thought that I would be able to see him again." Bing said calmly. "What preparation?" Tang Tian was at a loss. Fu Zihong stared blankly at the two abnormal people. Bing wiped away his tears. He looked at Screw, who was in the ice coffin, who was not complete, and was shouting like a lunatic. His gaze was resolute. The endless fighting intent in his chest surged and burned, like the era of war. Everyone was moved. "How many more days do you need?" Bing asked. "Don't tell me you don't want to ask me why I asked you to guard the pass?" Bing suddenly asked. Little Fool could still vaguely remember the friendship he had with Yaya before he was awakened. "Kacha," he helplessly bit on the star rocks. Fu Zihong looked at the strange stronghold. She could not help but look at the middle-aged man who was biting on the cigarette. She knew that Bing was the one who set up the defense. She knew about the single-valve stronghold. But she did not know how to build it. The single-valve stronghold had been lost for many years. She did not expect him to know about it. Bing did not notice Fu Zihong's gaze. He was not as calm as he looked. He and Tang Tian stood side by side. He bit on the cigarette. Are you ready? Yes. Song Yangyu laughed. They will follow you in the future. Please do not reject them. Yaya jumped around little fool. Fu Zhongshan and the rest looked at Song Yangyu. Song Yangyu looked at Tang Tian. You decide. Bing pointed to his feet. Cold wave ice bricks? We will use cold wave ice bricks to construct it. Our martial artists are not good at fighting, but using them to create ice bricks is not a problem. The structure of the stronghold is very suitable to be changed into a single valve stronghold. If we are fast, we can complete it in one night. Should we advise Master? Yang Hao Rant's expression was sluggish. He muttered to himself. Such a boss was not a worthy person to rely on. He did not trust his father. He did not have any leeway. But towards Tang Tian he followed him blindly. She acknowledged Tang Tian's strength. But, in all fairness, compared to her father, Tang Tian's strength still had an obvious gap. It really made her feel helpless. Why? Tang Tian was startled. He shook his head. I never thought about it. I trust uncle. And this is my problem. Why do I need others to risk their lives for me? How much I want it, I should work hard. Since I must get it, then I should risk my life. If not, wouldn't I be lying to myself? Tang Tian listened carefully. Bing would not lie to him. Bing definitely had his considerations. Bing puffed out a smoke ring and laughed. Yo yo yo, godlike young man. You are filled with passion. In her mind, Bing squatted on the ground and cried out in pain. She had never seen a man cry like that. The shock she felt at that moment was extremely intense. The spirit domain that you are training in is a rarely seen form spirit. Now, no one knows how to control it. Bing said, but I believe that as long as you continue to fight, you will definitely find a way. This is a special sparring session. It is very dangerous. But I believe that you will definitely be able to do it, because you have extraordinary battle instincts. 10,000 years ago, we fought side by side. 10,000 years later, we met again. I am still safe and sound. But you have been crippled for 10,000 years. This extremely unfamiliar name caused everyone to be confused. Only Fu Zihong's face revealed a look of surprise. Single valve stronghold? What happened today had a huge impact on him. Song Yangyu, Sexton's eye. He did not know anything about it. In the past, he thought that he knew a lot of things. But now, he realized that the things he knew were pitifully little. He had too many doubts in his mind. He wanted to ask Song Yangyu, although he knew that Song Yangyu might not know the answer. Bing guided him patiently. Think about it. When will you be able to find so many saints to spar with you? This is an extremely rare opportunity. If you miss it, you will regret it for the rest of your life. The entire grounds master establishment immediately started to move. All of the disciples were mobilized. The ice bricks underground were inexhaustible, especially when they heard that they could avoid battles by repairing the stronghold. Everyone could not help but cheer. They were extremely motivated. Everyone's spirits were roused. The urgency of the situation had already caused everyone to feel the immense pressure. Everyone felt that they were at the end of the road. They did not expect that Bing would actually have a way. What is a single-valve stronghold? Yang Haoran asked. Tang Tian's words were straightforward. There was no leeway. Just like 10,000 years ago. It was extremely anxious. Little Fool was not playing with it anymore. It dug and dug out a bunch of star rocks. Eagerly, it brought them to Little Fool. There is a way. Bing said slowly. Fu Zihong looked at Bing and immediately explained. The so-called single-valve stronghold is a type of extremely extreme stronghold. This type of stronghold structure is extremely unique. It is formed by intersecting layers of dark caves. Its defense is extremely strong, but this structure will leave an obvious gap, just like a valve. This gap will become the enemy's only point of attack. Thus, we need a strong martial artist to oversee it. Yaya brought the star rocks to Little Fool. His chubby face was filled with anticipation. Why don't you guys leave this place? Bing suddenly asked. If you guys want to leave, there must be another way. Chapter 507. Refining Spirit Treasures and What Not Depended on Little Fool. Qiansen was startled. Remnant pieces of spirit treasures? Of course, the powerful Southern Cross Army naturally does not need such small playthings. But now you can make use of it. Oh my, I was wondering why the mood was so good this morning, so it's because of the arrival of an esteemed guest. Qiansen's face was flushed red. This small shop has many good items. There is a bronze spirit sword. The quality has reached the middle grade, extremely outstanding, only 200 billion star coins. Spirit treasures were expensive, but remnant pieces of spirit treasures were much more affordable. Tang Tian nodded his head and took out the dormant spear. How much is this dormant spear worth? He looked at the groundsmaster establishment and grinned. The exterior of the groundsmaster establishment had completely changed. Between the front courtyard, west courtyard and east courtyard, there were many crisscrossing ice brick caves, and most importantly, Bing had directed the cold wave from underground to the outer wall, causing the outer wall's defense to increase by a few times. Qiansen did not have any temper. Look, what a tyrant, to want to play with refining before even starting. He threw out 70 billion. He became even more passionate. Yes, yes, yes. That's right, playing with refining, cultivating one's mind, how elegant. You are just starting. I suggest you buy the entire set, from the entry level to the bronze high-grade refining spirit books. Adding them all up, it's about 12 billion. To refine, you need a fire spirit technique. I have a good fire spirit technique card here. Cygnus Constellations, Graceful Cold Flame. It's exactly 8 billion. Qiansen was so happy that he could not close his mouth. His business was good, but they were all consignment businesses, and he only took some money from them. It was the first time he had a business that was close to 100 billion. Most importantly, the majority of the profits from this business would fall into his pocket. Upon saying that, he regretted it. Oh my, please do not offend a tyrant. 35 billion of profits will fly away. Ansai Lei had absorbed all sorts of bronze formulas from the army in the past, and had even greater breakthroughs in this domain, and Sai Lei had already started to experiment with spirit gold and secret gold. The so-called spirit gold was the combination of martial spirits and metals, and secret gold was even more astonishing. It was the purest metal extracted from mature treasures. I must be imagining it. Compared to martial artists, saints were naturally rich, but when they truly entered the saint ranks, they knew that the landlord did not have any surplus, and the saints' days were not good either. These independent saints did not have any financial backers, so their days were actually very tight. I'll sell it to you for 70 billion, Tang Tian said straightforwardly. Little Fool played with it for 2 days before throwing it to Tang Tian in disdain, saying that it could be sold. Doing business with a nouveau riche was really cool. Tang Tian muttered in his heart. For example, Tang Tian did not expect that Bing would actually target the brand. Qiansen brought Tang Tian to a room, and then took out a chest from the vase. Inside the chest, there were all sorts of broken pieces. All of them had dim light auras, and all of them had strange shapes. Tang Tian returned to his original appearance when he fought Yi Zhaogu. Tang Tian felt his heart ache. He glanced at them and asked, "How many in total?" Understanding of the laws was more important than strength. With a deep understanding, it would be easy to break through this barrier. If one's understanding was shallow, no matter how much effort one expended, they would still fail. Even if he succeeded, he would not be able to unleash the true power of the spirit treasure. As long as 200 billion star coins. Tang Tian's heart trembled. He had just spent a large sum of money for the saint unit. He already felt that it was exaggerated enough. Now that he heard that a spirit treasure was worth 200 billion star coins, he only had one thought. Could it be that the saint's money was not money? In that moment, Tang Tian felt sad. Why was he not an Aquarius saint? It was said that the Aquarius saint's vase was filled with star coins. Under Qiansen's warm farewell, Tang Tian left the ancient cold restaurant. Just as he walked out of the restaurant, he stopped. Seeing the person not far away, he laughed. The two of them flipped through the spirit books with all their might. They truly found the remnant pieces of the spirit treasures. When refining spirit treasures, one had to leave behind their own imprints. All of these imprints contain the refiner's understanding of the laws. Qianxin received Little Fool's spear and inspected it carefully. Then he said professionally, "This spirit treasure's grade is not high. It's a lower bronze grade. But the craftsmanship is seasoned and the craftsmanship is excellent. It's the best of the lower bronze grade. Its estimated value is around 80 billion star coins." Qianxin's mind was roused. As expected of a tyrant. "All right, Uncle Bing has some standards. Godlike young lad, I will reluctantly admit it. Inside are all remnant pieces of spirit treasures. 100 million star coins for one." Qianxin pretended to be generous. "You must be clear about the market. Remnant pieces of spirit treasures are not allowed to be picked. When I saw you, I felt that we hit it off. You can pick anything you want." Furthermore, there were many saints in ancient Cold City. Some of the more active people started to do business. Normally, everyone would stay in their own place. It was rare for them to meet each other. Now that everyone was able to meet, they could use the things they did not need to exchange for the things they needed. The current mechanical laboratory was rich and overbearing. Adding a bunch of lunatics, the atmosphere of innovation was extremely feverish. The materials used to refine spirit treasures were mainly star treasures. However, every single star treasure was a body of its own. It was formed after thousands of years of nurturing. This stable state was an invisible barrier. Breaking the barrier of a star treasure required a huge amount of power. And to fuse and recombine different star treasures, not only did it require power, it also required a deeper understanding of laws. Qianxin immediately perspired. "Don't tell me you don't know. So expensive." Remnant pieces of spirit treasures were truly cheap. Normally, only saints who could not afford to buy spirit treasures and wanted to refine their own spirit treasures would buy them. They wanted to use the remnant pieces of spirit treasures to figure out how to refine spirit treasures, and to inspire their own thoughts. "Are there any spirit books that can refine spirit treasures?" Tang Tian asked. "Truly enemies on a narrow road." The origin mark box in the past was limited by the metal material and was unable to seal higher-grade origin marks. Now Bing was filled with anticipation towards the origin mark box. Qianxin's heart trembled. He was an expert in observing people's expressions. Scholars had the aura of scholars. Strong martial artists had the might of strong martial artists. Different people had different temperaments. It was not strange for people with a similar might to appear. For example, Elder Rongbo, he actually had it. Even the remnant pieces cost 100 million star coins. Saints were practically burning through star coins. The news of Dawn being sold at an astonishing price had already spread like wildfire in ancient Cold City. In ancient Cold City, a complete spirit treasure, even the lowest grade bronze low-grade spirit treasure, would be sold for 50 billion star coins. The techniques to refine low-grade spirit treasures were not profound, but the difficulty was not low. It was time-consuming and energy-consuming. Ordinary saints would find their own treasures and spend 2 to 3 years to refine spirit treasures. Thinking about that, Qianxin immediately became even more passionate. He immediately flipped through the records. Coincidentally, there is a batch of remnant pieces of spirit treasures placed in my shop for sale. Please follow me. Oh, I felt that it was interesting. I wanted to give it a try. Tang Tian said nonchalantly. Bing had obtained the entire ancient Cold City's defense map from Fu Zihong and actually linked the groundsmaster establishment and ancient Cold City together. Tang Tian could still remember the expression on Fu Zihong's face at that time. He was completely stunned. And the current Sai Lei and the rest had made huge breakthroughs in their metal formulas. Every single aspect was much better than their generation. After the era of the 3 great armies, the mechanical techniques as a whole started to decline by a large margin. However, these mechanical engineers who were lost did not give up, and in some small areas, they still made great progress, and metal formulas were one of them. Should I give you the remaining 20 billion star coins? Qianxin asked. Could it be that he liked to refine spirit treasures? Tang Tian quietly walked out of the groundsmaster establishment. In the process of refining, this understanding would be reflected in the spirit treasures, and that was the imprint. Of course, these imprints could not be compared to saint spirits. But to Tang Tian and the rest, it was more than enough. The price of saint spirits was even more speechless. When everyone came together to analyze, they all felt that the mysterious man had purposely set up a trap to swindle the Honorable Martial Alliance. To swindle the Honorable Martial Alliance, everyone was happy to see it. But to swindle them so profitably, everyone was jealous. Uncle Bing ran to Three Spirits City to make some boxes. Although Sai Lei and the rest had moved away from Three Spirits City, but there were still a portion of people in the mechanical laboratory to help the base repair mechanical spirit weapons. Customizing a box was not a problem. Many saints were interested in it. Coming and going, business was good. Don't tell me there aren't any? Tang Tian frowned. It was just an instinctive reaction. But in the eyes of others, it gave off an imposing aura. I have seen such a thing before. When I saw Screw, I thought about it. Screw had worked on it before. It has two uses. One is to help you understand laws. And it is very suitable for you. You are a zero-energy body. These imprints that remove energy are also called origin seals. Screw thinks that they are the origin of laws. He has always been trying to break them and assimilate them into the mechanical weapons, but to no avail. Because all these origin seals form their own bodies and are difficult to break apart. Not only that, they are extremely destructive. Once they are sealed in metals, they will quickly destroy the bronze. Until after that, he researched on number 09 bronze and was finally able to seal the origin seals. He created a very special thing called the origin seal box. Seeing Tang Tian's arrival, Qian Sen's eyes lit up. Tyrant. Tang Tian coughed lightly. Do you have any remnant pieces of spirit treasures? As for Tang Tian, he wanted to buy the items that contain the imprints. He could forget about the saint bones, as the price would definitely be hard to accept. But Bing said that when Screw was researching, he definitely did not use saint bones. Look, the tyrant buying remnant pieces of spirit treasures was different from others. This grandeur, this style. Without saying a word, he extended out 5 fingers. 510 pieces, I will be able to buy 500 pieces. 50 billion. Qian Sen's heart moved. Saints who were proficient in crafting spirit treasures were the saints that businessmen liked the most. Spirit treasures were expensive, but the market was still in short supply. There were too many tyrants. Tang Tian was pressed for time. Once he obtained the item, he immediately threw it to the Martial Spirit Chamber's waiter. Deal. Tang Tian was straightforward. The price he quoted was 80 billion, which was relatively conservative. He had the confidence to sell the mature growth halberd for around 100 billion. Now that he bought it for 70 billion, in the blink of an eye, he would have a profit of 30 billion. 50 billion remnant pieces of spirit treasures was not a high profit, but it was still 5 billion star coins. With that, he would have a profit of 35 billion. Yes, yes, yes. He immediately replied. Alright, tyrants are all eccentric people who came to buy cheap goods. Qian Sen agreed without hesitation. Deal. Tang Tian arrived at the ancient cold restaurant. The place had already been rented by a saint called Qian Sen and was used as a trading ground. The hall of the restaurant had many wooden boards. On them were written the items that one possessed, the items that one wanted to exchange for, and the room that the owner was in. It was Tang Tian's first time witnessing a trade between saints, and he felt that it was interesting. Chapter 508. Although the light was weak, it lit up the darkness. However, I also came prepared. Under the state of weak light, Yi Zhaoji's 6 senses were all raised. Tang Tian's moves that were so fast that he had difficulty defending were now extremely clear in his vision. How is that possible? How is that possible? Saint blood was the source of a blood meridian saint's power. The power of the saint blood flowed through every cell of the blood meridian saint's body. The nature of the saint blood was also a type of spirit domain, so when it was used, it would more or less produce undulations. That was why Tonggu had such suspicions. The opponent definitely knew about the strangeness of the saint's spirit. The sword blade swayed, Countless of light dots transformed into light needles, like a rain of light, following the sword. He initially looked down on Yi Zhaogu. He had the capital, he had a spirit value of 124 points. Even with so many saints in ancient Cold City, there were only a few that could surpass him in spirit value. Yi Zhaogu acted as if he was facing a great enemy. The sword in his hand suddenly pierced, ding. The sword tip seemed to have pierced into a shadow, the sword blade suddenly bending. The astonishing power caused his palm to heat up, but he did not dare to be distracted, and concentrated with all his might. The light was like rain, entering the sword blade. There was no dazzling light aura, only a faint and gentle light aura. This was the path that belonged to him, Yi Zhaogu. This was a tyrannical and fierce demon without any weaknesses. Tang Tian's heart trembled. He felt a strong sense of danger. Yi Zhaogu, who was in front of him, was like a regiment of light, although gentle but pervasive. In that moment, he felt as if he had nowhere to hide. After being locked up for a full 15 years, using countless torture methods, the red-haired fellow was like a demon, his gaze forever filled with cold mockery. Ever since the clan elder told him, the imprint was William's. In his heart, he had already sentenced the mysterious young man who defeated him to death. That was William, the infamous red demon William. So beautiful! 544 points. The big-statured man sucked in a cold breath. His face changed. Tang Tian of course did not have any good intentions. He initially thought that he had cheated someone, but in the end, he was almost cheated. This feeling was extremely terrible. When Elder Rongbo was here, Tang Tian was unscrupulous. Now that Elder Rongbo was not here, truly. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. His body lit up with a faint light aura. He saw this as an opportunity to sharpen himself. It was a rare opportunity for so many saints to gather. The sword's shadow completely disappeared in the air. During their last encounter, although this mysterious man showed obvious hostility towards him, his killing intent was not strong. Today, the naked killing intent seemed to have materialized. He admired Elder Rongbo a lot, but he didn't agree with all of Elder Rongbo's ideas, such as not using a knife to kill. The elder liked to scheme, but that was not what he was good at. His future path was to use the blade to kill. Tonggu only nodded his head. He did not refute. He came from Onyx Soul. Naturally, his understanding of blood meridians was not something the big-sized man could compare to. Indeed, there were no fluctuations of divine blood, but the few that he knew of were completely different. The battle between the two instantly alerted the saints of ancient Cold City. Although the energy fluctuations were not strong, the momentum was quite frightening. Everyone was even more interested when they saw the two of them fighting. Tonggu muttered, "It's hard to say, but this person should have some background, just that we have not clarified it yet." The energy from the fist and sword clashing exploded in the air. Ripples after ripples in the air were produced and dissipated at an astonishing speed. The ripples that dissipated were like blades or swords, bringing forth incessant sounds of breaking the air. Tang Tian did not even say a word. He exerted strength in his legs, and his body disappeared into the sound barrier. The two of them were like two blood meridian saints, using the most direct method of attack, without any fanciful moves. Who knows, it might be a special kind of saint blood. The big-sized man laughed. He was only joking. The mysterious man trained in the form spirit. The higher-ups of the martial group were enraged, and stripped his saint spirit. Even when he was stripping his saint spirit, the cold ridicule in his eyes did not change. His corpse that was tied to the pillar of trial did not have any signs of decay. He looked at Tang Tian in a daze. He was somewhat envious, as expected of the #1 bronze-ranked spirit technique of the Honorable Martial Alliance. He continued to ask, how is their physical body strength? Are they walking the path of blood meridian saints? Glimmer. He did not die. This fellow actually did not die. Tong Ji's spirit was roused. The big-sized man beside him also kept his smile, and revealed a serious expression. A wisp of ice-cold, demonic red flame wrapped around his fist. But none of the spirit techniques that he trained in could be compared to Glimmer. Tang Tian saw Yi Zhaogu activating Glimmer, and became even more excited. The last time with Glimmer, he paid the price of both his hands to win. Tang Tian was an out-and-out battle maniac on this point. He was no different from Ling Su. Towards the majority of things, he did not take them into his mind, but towards battles, his focus was extremely high, far surpassing normal martial artists. Yi Zhaoji's pupils were ice cold. The energy in the air around him quickly ignited. Tang Tian did not summon Little Fool, but brazenly rushed towards Yi Zhaogu. Yi Zhaogu only felt the hair on his body standing. An intense sense of danger surfaced in his mind. The opponent wanted to kill him. The speed of both parties was extremely fast. The stripped martial spirit was extremely strong, extremely pure, but no one in the Honorable Martial Alliance dared to use it. This demon-like murderer would definitely not let go of any chance for revenge. Even after death, he would not let it go. Everywhere he passed, the air ripples that came into contact with everything, all shattered into pieces, ice shards flying everywhere. He did not die. His movements were not fast, but it gave people a feeling of ease, without any ruthlessness or craziness. A flower in a greenhouse would definitely not grow into a useful person. In the past, he was known for his craziness and battle thirst. After being bestowed as a saint, although his explosive craziness was restrained, but he was not afraid of competition and battles. Tonggu explained, he has not even entered the sect. For Glimmer, to be able to become the #1 bronze spirit technique in the Honorable Martial Alliance is because of its uniqueness. The initial spirit value of training requires 25 points. In the history of the Honorable Martial Alliance, the saints who trained Glimmer to the highest realm, in the end the spirit value of Glimmer reached 544 points. If a Blood Meridian's saint wanted to increase his strength, he had to continuously evolve. Not far away, a few people were also watching the battle. One of them was Tonggu. The big-sized man beside him said, "Do you think this person can be roped in?" Suddenly, he felt something and could not help but raise his head. When he saw the person not far away, he was instantly stunned. Like a flaming meteorite falling from the sky, bringing with it a rumble that caused people to tremble, suddenly arrived. Tang Tian grinned at him. Yi Zhaogu was 100% sure. That smile definitely did not have any good intentions. The battle outside the city last time was a feast for everyone's eyes. Forever pursuing personal strength, this point he would definitely not waver. Tang Tian's eyes suddenly became serious. Without any hesitation, his body was like an arrow, raising his fist, bringing with it a whistling sound. If it was said that the promotion of a spirit domain saint was to expand the spirit domain, then the promotion of a Blood Meridian saint was to continuously evolve the saint blood. There were two directions for the saint blood to evolve. One was to purify, the other was to devour. Such a terrifying talent. Saint blood was strange, especially those Blood Meridians saints that walked the path of devouring. The saint blood that they cultivated was even stranger. Finally unable to hold it in anymore. It was not that he had too many pursuits towards the spirit law. The elder's words were not wrong. The accumulation of the honorable group was far from what the outside world could compare to. As long as he could maintain a higher rate of improvement, the honorable group would definitely not be stingy. Ever since Elder Rongbo left, Yi Zhaogu had always maintained a low profile. Although he was a genius of the Honorable Martial Alliance, but in the Saints, he was a complete newbie. If he could completely comprehend Glimmer, among the Bronze Saints, he would definitely be invincible. But now, it was more important to tuck his tail between his legs and be a talent. A spirit technique that required 25 spirit value points from the start was already very powerful, and to be able to expand to 544 points, that was enough to prove that the law contained in this spirit technique was rather high level. Because only high-level spirit techniques had such a shocking expansion space. So Yi Zhaogu thought that fellow was dead for sure. In the entire Honorable Martial Alliance, no one believed that devouring William's Saint Spirit would be safe and sound. He was already considering to go to the front lines after a period of time and go through the tempering of blood and fire to be able to improve even faster. Blood Meridian's saints were different from other saints. Their blood meridians would undergo a qualitative change. This brand new blood meridians contained extremely astonishing power, was called Saint Blood. and the saint blood itself was a special type of spirit domain. Among the spectators, many of them revealed looks of surprise. Tong Ji's eyes suddenly lit up. Yi Zhaogu had improved. His expression was as though he had seen a ghost. He quickly felt tired. He understood the opponent's intention. It was to use such a fast rhythm, swift and fierce attacks, to make him unable to activate Glimmer. Yi Zhaoji's face was emotionless. His expression was serene, as though he had comprehended something. Even the sword light was gentle and sharp. Yi Zhaogu does not live up to his name. The big-sized man shook his head, his eyes filled with disappointment. Is this Glimmer? Glimmer. But this person appeared. His eyes lit up with a faint light aura. The shadows in his eyes became much slower. But it was only slower. He needed to be fully focused, to be able to barely keep up. Tong Gu shook his head. Yi Zhaogu has blood meridians in his body. I am not sure about that mysterious man. The mysterious man is slightly stronger, but it is a little weird. I did not feel the undulation of saint blood. It is not a blood meridian saint. His physical strength was quickly depleting, although he had blood meridians, but after being bestowed as a saint, he still walked the path of the honorable martial alliance, and his blood meridians did not evolve. The battle from the last time, in his mind, was repeatedly replayed. William's hands were stained with the blood of the honorable martial alliance. The number of elites of the martial group that died in his hands were unknown, and there were even more than 10 saints. The martial group used an astonishing amount of power to capture him, but no matter what methods they used, they were unable to obtain any valuable information from him. He was even more dissatisfied with the bitter battles he had suffered in the past. His hatred for failure had already seeped into his bones. Ding ding ding. Very quickly, Yi Zhaogu sensed that something was wrong. No, if this goes on, my physical strength will be exhausted, and that will be bad. Chapter 509. Previously, in his eyes, the coma dormant spear was already extremely crude. And after a round of cramming, he looked down on it even more. In truth, he did not like the elegant cold flame, but luckily the elegant cold flame only required 10 spirit value points. The entry-level refining spirit technique required 10 spirit value points. It showed that spirit treasures were not easy to refine. He did not feel any energy. What was that? He went underground. Tang Tian was silent. After a while, he raised his head. What kind of person is he? Little fool is so powerful. Song Yongyu laughed. Any desperate person will be willing to be bribed like this. Song Yongyu muttered. I am not clear about his matters, but looking at the time, he should be preparing for his funeral. The reason why I did not directly give it to you, for an old man like me, I can roughly understand. If I have a very important but dangerous thing, I hope that my descendant can take it, but I am worried that he does not have the ability to do so, and will lose his life in vain. Like this, if you do not have the ability, then it will disappear by itself. If you have the ability, then you will have the chance to find it. Of course, this is just my guess. The surroundings were dead silent, so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. The saints who did not change their expressions in front of them could not hide the shock on their faces. What do you plan to do with him? Kill him? Fu Zihong pointed to the unconscious Yi Zhaogu and asked Tang Tian. Bing looked at Tang Tian and sighed in his heart. It was a good thing that Song Yongyu had explained everything clearly, as Crazy Tang could not hide his thoughts. He had also swept through the 500 remnant spirit treasures. But the battle would not start so soon. Fu Zihong had said that the single-valve stronghold had been lost for many years, and the opponent would definitely not rush over. Taking advantage of this time, Tang Tian had many questions to ask Song Yongyu. They initially thought that it would be a fierce battle, and to them, Yi Zhaogu had a higher chance of winning. Previously, Tang Tian's victory, in the eyes of the majority, stemmed from Yi Zhaoji's underestimation of the enemy. Tang Tian suddenly raised his head and asked, Did he mention my mother? Bing was slightly disappointed. He turned and asked Tang Tian, What else do you want to ask? What exactly did you do? At that time, he was still exclaiming in his heart. As expected of Glimmer, but the turn of events after that was something he could never have imagined. Little Fool decided to refine his first spirit treasure. Little Fool was fully immersed in his work. The few spirit books on refining spirit treasures, Little Fool glanced at them and threw them to the side. With his IQ, he only needed to glance at the simple content. The thing he left for me? Tang Tian was a little absent-minded. Why didn't he give it to me directly? Bing opened his mouth, but did not say a word. After a while he asked, "Is it worth it?" The deafening explosion and blinding light that he imagined did not appear. The gentle light sword burst like a bubble. It looked at Little Fool with admiration. "Yi Xiaoge." Fu Zihong jumped in fright. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Hao Ran, who were at the side, were also startled. They had heard the commotion outside the residence, but they did not expect that it was caused by Tang Tian, and that he had even captured Yi Xiaoge. No. Song Yang shook his head. His condition at that time was already very bad, as though he was injured. He only said that he was going to do something very important and did not say anything else. But I think, to drag his injured body and go to arrange for his funeral, it must be something dangerous that he had no choice but to do. Bang. Song Yang laughed. Why is it not worth it? Just like your comrades, there are many things that you think are worth it. If you think it is not worth it, then there will be no such things. What's wrong with your body? Bing looked at Song Yang. But the scene that happened just now was clearly seen by everyone. Even Glimmer could be destroyed. That was something that Tang Tian did not expect. But his sharp intuition, when the opportunity appeared, his body had already instinctively reacted. Wait a minute. His figure disappeared like a ghost, teleporting, and at the same time, a palm extended out from behind Yi Xiaoge's head. Yi Xiaoge then awoke from his daze. Before he could release his energy shield, his throat tightened. A strong force caused his qi to become chaotic, and the energy shield that was not fully formed immediately dissipated. He had already lost the ability to resist. The wealth on Yi Xiaoge's body made Tang Tian extremely disappointed. He was after all one of the top geniuses in the Honorable Martial Alliance. How could he be so poor? How could it be? Tang Tian nodded his head. What exactly is Sexton's eye? What does the spirit general beside him look like? Bing suddenly asked. It's spirit transformation. Song Yang explained. The cold wave here is too heavy. It is beneficial to martial spirits, but to humans, it is extremely disadvantageous. I might as well spirit transform myself. After spirit transformation, I will become an existence similar to a spirit general, and can instead train here. Song Yang smiled. You have doubts? Tang Tian regained his senses. I bought it. He had always been trying to figure out how to use this weird flame. Later on, he realized that this flame was extremely unique. It could annihilate energy. This discovery made him feel as though he had obtained a treasure. He started to think about how to use it in battle. He turned and asked Tang Tian. Hey, little Tang Tian, have you bought it? Song Yang revealed a look of reminiscence. This is hard for me to describe. Some people say that he is ambitious and ruthless. Some say that he has a pure heart. But in my heart, he is the one who saved my life, the one who gave me hope. Yi Xiaoge only felt his vision blur. He was in a room. Before he could react, he teleported again. After teleporting a few times, Yi Xiaoge had already lost all sense of where he was. The opponent's meticulousness made him secretly fearful. This escape route was definitely carefully chosen. Song Yang's words were like a heavy hammer that struck Tang Tian's heart. He could not help but clench his fists. He casually threw Yi Xiaoge to Fu Zihong and the rest. Maybe he intentionally bribed you. Bing's voice came out. I don't know. Song Yang revealed a look of reminiscence. His body was shrouded in black smoke. He did not speak much. He was extremely strong. The big-sized man beside him had a face of shock. Although he previously thought that Yi Xiaoge did not live up to his name, but Yi Xiaoge's sword made him change his opinion. He had already been a saint for 20 years. Due to the lack of resources, he could not improve further. But his accumulation was deep and was much stronger than the average person. Yi Xiaoge's mind was shaken. He never thought that he would actually enter the grounds master establishment. This mysterious man was actually someone from the Yang fighting grounds. Yaya's small eyes widened as he stared at the white flame. Every time the opponent teleported, he would land inside a house. The distance of teleportation was only 500 m. But the complicated terrain of the city gave him the best help. If he did not even know where he was, how could the people outside find him? Yi Zhaogu was obviously startled. He had already prepared for the explosion. Although the glimmer looked gentle, but when it exploded, it would be extremely violent. Tang Tian did not think that the effect would be so good. But he had originally planned to use it to surprise others, and then grab hold of this flaw. This was the grounds master establishment. Yi Zhaoji's glimmer sword was definitely not weak. This time, Yi Zhaogu would definitely not underestimate his opponent. Not only that, from the sword just now, Yi Zhaogu had obviously improved. This terrifying talent caused everyone to be shocked. It also made them believe that Yi Zhaogu would obtain the final victory. Alright, let us try. Bing was also eager to try. After going out for a walk, Tang Tian had already deeply understood the high prices of goods in the Saint world. Star coins were like water. Tang Tian, who had not lacked money for a long time, was already feeling the pressure. Yi Zhaoji's head was hit hard. His vision immediately turned black and he fainted. Tang Tian understood the logic of rare goods being hoarded. A genius saint, such a person, should be worth some money. Little Fool had already confirmed that he was extremely suitable to refine spirit treasures. As the spirit was extremely pure, it allowed him to control energy to an unimaginable level. In the process of refining spirit treasures, the control of the flames, the adjustment of the internal structure of the star treasure, all required a strong and precise control, and that was what Little Fool was most proficient in. If he could have a deeper understanding of laws in the future, he would be able to become a strong spirit treasure master. Anyone with a bit of insight would know that it was the strange red flame, but no one actually recognized it. Everyone had not regained their senses from the shock, because the one that was broken was Glimmer, the #1 bronze spirit technique in the Honorable Martial Alliance, Glimmer. Just now, what was that? Fu Zhongshan and the rest had always been paying attention to the situation in ancient Cold City. Yi Zhaogu was such a famous genius, how could they not know him? Just that they did not expect that after going out for a walk, Tang Tian would have one more captive, and it was such a famous genius. To Tang Tian, who had astonishing intuition, how could he let go of the fact that the opponent was in a daze during the battle? Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Tang Tian grabbed onto Yi Zhaoji's throat with one hand, and his figure suddenly disappeared. Blink. But he did not have the time to fear. His face was filled with disbelief, and his mind was filled with only one thought. Asshole! Who exactly are you? That red flame. Tang Tian completely ignored the gazes from all directions. He was extremely pleased with himself. In the martial spirit chamber, Little Fool extended his chubby palm. Whoosh, a white flame rose up, the white flame, emitting a cold intent, that was Cygnus Constellation's graceful cold flame. Bing laughed involuntarily. That's true. Tang Tian had already started to plunder all the valuables on Yi Zhaoji's body without caring about his image, without raising his head. Kill him? Don't kill him. It would be a pity to kill him. I have decided to ask the Yi family for ransom. He should be worth at least 100 billion star coins. He carefully extended his palm and touched the flame, a layer of frost quickly spreading along his fingers. Yaya shivered, the thick flesh on his body rippled like water. With a squeak, he jumped far away. What is that? Tonggu muttered to himself. It is a coordinate. Song Yangyu explained, but it is not the coordinate of the treasure deposit that is rumored to be outside, but something he left for you, and only you can open it. The result in front of him was something he did not expect. Chapter 510. Tang Tian picked up another copper box. He wanted to seal the blade imprint inside, but the thin stream, when it touched the copper box, sigh, a light paper tearing sound, the copper box was instantly smashed into pieces. The thin stream immediately retracted back into Tang Tian's body, and once again became a blade imprint. Little Fool secretly clenched his small fists. He loosened them. It was just the beginning. He then took out 12 arrows. It was the bronze treasure of Sagittarius constellation, the 4 seasons arrows. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter, every series of bronze arrows had 3 arrows. He could only think of it that way. Little Fool had ingeniously merged the stars into the spirit treasure. Seeing this spirit treasure, no one would ever think of the Ursa Major star's umbrella. But Little Fool was able to use the various transformations of the Ursa Major star's umbrella. Do you guys need the imprints inside the spirit treasure? Song Yangyu suddenly asked. Interesting, 0 energy body. Song Yangyu pondered. That's right, if the spirit transformation is a complete energy body, then there will definitely be a 0 energy body. Origin imprint. This name is good. This way to comprehend laws, although it will be more difficult, but it is more direct. Without the modification of energy, it will be closer to the essence of the laws. After moving the star rocks, it curiously guarded at the side. In any case, there was a pile of star rocks as a sponsorship fee. Yaya looked at Little Fool with envy. Little Fool was so powerful, he could float in the air while meditating. Tang Tian did not believe it, and picked up another copper box. The result was the same. The copper box was once again destroyed by the sharp blade aura. After completing the 3 materials, Little Fool did not continue immediately, but instead sat cross-legged and meditated. The difficulty of refining the materials was not considered high. It was just a matter of grinding. He was just warming it up, although he had absolute confidence in himself, but he was never careless. Tang Tian's mind moved. He felt a thin stream of energy flowing from his fingertips into the crystal copper box, and on the surface of the crystal copper box, a whirlwind imprint appeared. Little Fool did not feel it. Time passed, and he threw a few star rocks into his mouth. He was secretly surprised. The difficulty of refining spirit treasures was much higher than what he had imagined. He finally understood why spirit treasures were so expensive. In terms of purity, the energy in his body could not compare to the other saints, but in terms of quantity, the other saints could not catch up to him. This time, Bing brought the crystal copper box. It was the size of a mung bean cake. Its surface was glossy, not as dark as normal bronze, but slightly brighter. But on the surface, it was still quite inconspicuous. But Tang Tian looked at the entire chest of remnant spirit treasures in front of him, and suddenly realized an important problem. He stammered, how do I get the imprint out? The ball of light flew into Tang Tian's body. Were they all poor? Okay, let's call it Yaya Umbrella. Song Yangyu waved his hand towards one of the remnant spirit treasures, and the remnant spirit treasure flew towards him. He turned and asked Bing, the outer shell is useless? He first refined an umbrella handle. He chose a treasure from Lacerta Scorpion constellation, bronze rank, dark copper rod. The graceful cold flame quickly wrapped around the copper rod, like flowing white sand, continuously polishing the copper rod. Seeing that, Yaya immediately placed the star rocks in front of Little Fool, and in the blink of an eye, the star rocks in front of Little Fool were piled up like a mountain. The finished product made Little Fool more satisfied. The snow-white umbrella surface, the reflection of the lake under the snowy mountains, and the faint ripples of the water could be seen. Ordinary bronze rank spirit treasures would not have more than 3 treasures, but Little Fool, who had always been conceited, would not be interested in ordinary goods. Song Yangyu muttered to himself. Tang Tian wanted to try again, but was stopped by Bing. Let's get rid of these remnant spirit treasures first. Little Fool thought about the pile of star rocks just now. This was what it meant to be taken advantage of. Little Fool was satisfied. The graceful cold flame was indeed a good choice for the entry-level refining spirit techniques. At least the appearance of the refined items was not bad. Just looking at the thin rod, it was comparable to a work of art. Other people did not have enough spirit value and were unable to train in new spirit techniques, but he had a lot of empty spirit value slots, but did not have any spirit techniques to train in. Towards the first spirit treasure that he had refined, Little Fool was extremely confident, and muttered to himself, what name should I give you? Song Yangyu floated over, and asked curiously, what is this? Tang Tian's eyes widened. And without waiting for him to react, a few rays of light aura flew out from Tang Tian's body, and a whirlwind imprint appeared on Tang Tian's palm. It definitely cannot be like this. Bing was startled, rubbing his chin. He was not too sure. This is indeed a problem. Don't tell me you want to eat it? Why not you try it? The taste of spirit treasures, I think it should be good. Maybe it's delicious. Seal it in the crystal copper box. Bing immediately said. When Yaya heard that, it immediately came over and started to make the gestures non-stop. Feeling Yaya's happiness, Little Fool's mood also became better. If you can think of another way, I don't mind. Bing waved his hand, a face of helplessness. Don't tell me you intend for our grand plan to fail prematurely? Origin Imprint Box. Bing proudly pointed at Tang Tian. This fellow has a zero energy body. His body will strongly repel energy-converted things. After these imprints lose their energy, they will become origin imprints, and seal the origin imprint in the copper box, and it will become the origin imprint box. Yaya immediately beamed with joy, jumped to Little Fool's side, carried Little Fool on his back, and then flew around the martial spirit chamber, his mouth releasing the sounds of joy. Little Fool's spirit value was as high as 80 points, teleportation took up 10 points, graceful cold flame took up 10 points, and there was still 60 points of space. The spirit technique of the Ursa Major Star's umbrella required him to comprehend it himself, but he had to reserve spirit value. Little Fool felt that the potential of the Ursa Major Star's umbrella was huge, and he planned to reserve 30 points of spirit value. Tang Tian's face immediately turned green. Eat? Hey, uncle, are you kidding me? Little Fool understood Yaya's meaning, and shook his head. No way. Bing whistled and was slightly excited. Success. Next was the umbrella cover. Little Fool chose the bronze treasure of Cygnus constellation, the Lake Shadow Cloak. The graceful cold flame refining Cygnus constellation treasures could be said to yield twice the results with half the effort. Little Fool could clearly feel that the energy consumption was much smaller. Who knows? Bing shrugged his shoulders. We have to speed up, we don't have much time. He was rather picky. I, Little Fool, am so good to you, but you can't even give me a name. Can we still play happily together? Are we still good brothers? Can our feelings not even be compared to a name? I have already given you all my rations, and you are actually like this. You are not loyal as a spirit general. How can you be like this? That's right. Bing nodded his head. Do you have any ideas? Everyone jumped in fright. Little Fool's eyes flashed with a light aura. His exquisite face revealed a look of concentration. Little Fool concentrated, concentrating on controlling the graceful cold flame. The martial spirit of a bronze-rank star treasure was not strong enough. It had the most impurities, and required patience to refine and purify, to raise its quality. The umbrella ribs were completed. Seems like this blade seal is not an ordinary item. Bing was slightly surprised. Your luck, this rascal is surprisingly good. Bing did not use the 09 bronze, but after communicating with Sai Lei, he ordered a new metal that Sai Lei had recommended, crystal copper. The cold, graceful cold flame wrapped around the arrow. The sharp tip of the arrow was polished perfectly round like a water droplet. The arrow body became even thinner and even more transparent. The spring arrow body was like a tender emerald. The summer arrow was like a hot and unrestrained polished red crystal. The autumn arrow was like a mature wheat ear. The winter arrow was as transparent as an icicle in the winter. The ambition to be the master must not be given up. While Little Fool was refining the spirit treasures, Tang Tian and Bing were also preparing for the upcoming battle. Little Fool checked the arrows one by one. Seeing that there were no flaws, his face revealed a satisfied smile. Little Fool said weakly, his childish voice was filled with helplessness. Why is it that around this fool, even Bud spirit generals are so stupid? 12 bronze arrows were thrown into the graceful cold flame. All right, although it was not worthy of my meticulously crafted masterpiece, but it can be considered as a sponsor. No. Bing shook his head. Little Fool secretly decided, after this wave of things was over, he wanted to refine the spirit treasures and earn a sum of money. If the future plans were to fall into the hands of the fool, then it would only be dragged into the abyss of stupidity. Little Fool looked at the finished product in front of him, his exquisite face revealing a tinge of pride. Inside the white, graceful cold flame, the bronze rod slowly became thinner. Little Fool replenished 2 more star rocks. Following the removal of the impurities on the rod body, the bronze rod became glossy, shining with an enchanting light aura, and actually had a bit of a crystalline texture. If the refining spirit technique was more powerful, the quality should be able to go up another level. Alright, the graceful cold flame that had a spirit value of 10 points, to be able to reach this stage was already pretty good. Yaya Umbrella? How could such a masterpiece have such a name? Bing's spirit was roused, pointing at Tang Tian, imprint the seal into his body. That meant that he still had 30 points of spirit value left. The graceful cold flame emitted a cold intent, causing the surroundings to be dyed with a layer of frost. The demonic and exquisite umbrella handle, the black gecko, attached to the handle body, the 2 blood pupils, were exactly where Little Fool was holding. The 12 umbrella ribs contain the changes of the 4 seasons. The umbrella's surface was like a painting, the water rippled, the reflection of the snowy mountain on the water surface. The most amazing thing was the starry sky above the snowy mountain, which was also reflected in the lake. Such a passive situation could not be allowed to continue. Song Yangyu nodded his head. Without saying a word, a thread of mist coiled around the spirit treasure, quickly seeping into it. His eyes suddenly lit up with a ball of light aura. The mist wrapped around a dim light ball and flew out. Little Fool was speechless. He understood Yaya's anger. Maybe I can try. Song Yangyu explained, after my spirit transformation, I am powerless against physical objects, but towards energy objects, my control has increased by a lot. Yaya was immediately angered. With a pout, he jumped up and down around Little Fool, squeaking nonstop. When Little Fool dispersed the graceful cold flame, a slender long rod that his small hands could hold landed in his hands. The slender rod was thicker than chopsticks. Little Fool's hands were too small, and he was helpless. The rod's body had a translucent crystal texture. The black stripes formed an ice-cold gecko, entrenched on the rod's body. The 2 demonic red spots were like ice-cold blood pupils. But, even with his surging energy, he felt that his energy could not keep up, then the other saints could only imagine. Also, the graceful cold flame was only a 10-point spirit value entry-level refining spirit technique. In the future, when refining spirit techniques with higher spirit value, the consumption of energy would be even more terrifying, and the consumption would be long-lasting. Chapter 511. Another saint barged in, and in 10 seconds, the light barrier turned green. The legendary lost single-valve stronghold, and the unfathomable Song Yangyu. For the next few days, no one dared to challenge the stronghold. Soon after, another brave saint who did not believe in evil stepped into the stronghold with a face full of killing intent. Then, in less than 10 seconds, the light barrier turned green again. When Shi Feng saw the enemy in front of him, it was as if he was struck by lightning. He was completely dumbfounded. Coupled with the meticulously arranged dark caves, even a saint would find it hard to escape unscathed. Once he stepped into the light barrier, his face changed. This light barrier was weird. This defeat was too fast. He immediately extended his hand to try, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not get out. I surrender! The other party shouted, causing Shi Feng to wake up from his daze. Win in one move? This little one will follow Master's lead from now on. I will follow your orders. Due to the battle between Tang Tian and Yizhaoge, there was a huge uproar. When people realized that the groundsmaster's residence had changed beyond recognition, it was already noon. This strange shape was obviously intentional. The saints were definitely a group of people with the most profound knowledge. Very quickly, they found the name Single Valve Fortress, and some of the characteristics of the Single Valve Fortress were also revealed. At the same time, Little Fool of the Martial Spirit Chamber opened his eyes. Is it coming? He was also looking forward to this battle. The first spirit treasure he had refined, was finally going to experience the test of battle. The dark caves did not attack, and he arrived in front of the light barrier without any problems. He was slightly nervous, but after thinking about it, if he did not take some risks, how would he gain anything? Gritting his teeth, he stepped into the light barrier. Another saint, in 10 seconds, the light barrier turned green. The depth of his schemes was evident. Some of the characteristics of the single-valve stronghold had already been dug out by everyone. Once the light barrier turned red, it meant that the battle was not over. And once the light barrier turned green, it meant that the battle was over. The reason they gave was sufficient. It was not that this fiend was the strongest, but that he was the coldest, most ruthless, and most scheming. Offending him meant that no one would be bitten. The first time he tricked Yi Zhaoge, this fiend only used the form spirit, and that weird red flame did not appear. And to numb Yi Zhaoge, he did not hesitate to cripple his own arms. Sensing that someone had arrived, Tang Tian opened his eyes. Could it be some kind of powerful special spirit technique? Someone whispered. Therefore, when Shi Feng saw Tang Tian, his last bit of hope was completely extinguished. And when he saw the waiter's umbrella, he shivered. This person actually had a trump card. He had never taken this umbrella out before. Shi Feng had done some research on spirit treasures, and upon seeing Yaya's umbrella, he knew that it was of outstanding quality. One-on-one. Renru Hai frowned. How is that possible? Hence, before the opportunity presented itself, it was better to put on an act. Who was inside? Meng Ta remained calm as he slowly walked into the stronghold. The reason why the single-valve fortress could force the enemy into a one-on-one battle was not only because of the crisscrossing layers of dark caves, but also because of the place Tang Tian was currently guarding, the light barrier at the valve mouth. Let's go take a look at the single-valve fortress, Renru Hai said. This time, there were no gasps of cold air, there was no sound at all. Everyone was completely shocked. On the third day, someone entered the single-valve fortress and immediately attracted everyone's attention. No one wanted to be the first to stand out. It must be an extremely powerful saint. The people outside could not see the situation inside the stronghold, but Fu Zhongshan and the rest who were watching from the dark caves could see everything clearly, and they were completely dumbfounded. What was going on? How could this be? One-on-one? 1 gold treasure, 36 silver treasures, 72 bronze treasures, were arranged by Bing in this area, and thus formed a roughly 300 m diameter hemispherical light barrier. Treasures, cold wave, star power, formed a perfect light barrier to seal off the area, and if there were more than 2 people in this area, it would be forbidden to enter. That fool's attitude towards his enemies had always been extremely ruthless. And for a potential enemy like him, he would definitely not be merciful. Although he could not kill him, he would definitely be able to completely suppress him. Shi Feng surrendered without hesitation. Other than Tang Tian's origin seal, there was also a lot of analysis of Tang Tian's battle. This beast's schemes were truly deep and terrifying. The single-valve fortress is an ancient fortress that has been lost for a long time and has not appeared for a long time. I never expected it to appear here. Tong Ji's tone had a tinge of surprise. The single-valve fortress's greatest specialty is that it can forcefully form a one-on-one situation. Tang Tian took a deep breath and said, "Come, let's fight to the death." Renru Hai was curious, but one-on-one, where did they get their confidence from? Although Fu Zhongshan's strength is not bad, but he is far from being able to fight with us. Shi Feng immediately felt like dying. Why did he jump out to be the first to stand out? Then who could it be? Renru Hai asked. This was especially so for the saints who had discussed with Shi Feng before. Their expressions changed slightly. This guess caused many to be excited and agitated. Shi Feng straightforwardly surrendered, causing Tang Tian, who was just about to pounce forward, to stop himself and looked at Shi Feng in shock. Little fool. He had made up his mind. If there were any signs, he would immediately run back. 1 sect with 3 saints, that was an extremely impressive achievement. Song Yang Yu's strength had never been displayed before, and no one knew, but to be able to groom 3 saint disciples, he was definitely not simple, and no one dared to look down on him. Although Shi Feng was a saint from a small place, but he still had some foundation, how could he be defeated so quickly? Shi Feng originally did not want to be the first to stand out, but he still held on to his luck and decided to give it a try. He had always stayed in the Delphinus constellation, which was a small constellation in the northern sky's 19 continents. This time, he also had the attitude of giving it a try. When everyone was discussing, they all agreed that they should definitely not be enemies with him. A few nosy saints even made a list of dangerous people. On it were people that they could not provoke, and this person was impressively at the top of the list. He had been guarding here for 3 days, and was already getting impatient. In truth, I am also not sure. Tonggu shook his head. This type of fortress has already been lost, and no one knows the theory behind it. When Brother Li was here, did you hear of it? Such a terrifying and ambitious person, how could he, an ordinary saint, be his opponent? Was it finally here? Could it really be? Xianxia? Tonggu calmed down, his eyes flashing with a strange light. Seems like the main character has appeared. They did not know that the battle where Tang Tian kidnapped Yi Zhaogu was currently the hottest topic in the entire ancient cold city. What exactly was the flame on Tang Tian's fist? Until now, no one had discussed it. To be able to restrain the glimmer, such a spirit technique was definitely not an ordinary spirit technique. But no one was able to say where it came from, causing the saints to be bewildered. The more he thought about it, the more afraid he felt, his thoughts diverging even further. Could it be that ancient cold city was actually a scam set up by this person? Very possible. If not, why would this person appear in the groundsmaster's residence? Could it be that he was the real mastermind behind this scam? They truly did not understand. Where did Songyang fighting grounds get their confidence from? Fu Zhongshan's strength was considered not bad among the bronze saints, but he was definitely not a top expert. This checkpoint should only be placed when there were absolute strong martial artists. How could the Songyang fighting grounds have absolute martial artists? Unless Songyang Yu was planning to personally appear? Tang Tian took a deep breath and stood up. And this time, after Rong Bo left, this person then displayed his true strength. He did not even use his form spirit, and easily took down Yi Zhaogu. When the fifth saint barged in 10 seconds, the light barrier turned green. This time, no one dared to make a sound. In everyone's eyes, the stronghold was like a monster with its bloody mouth wide open, waiting to devour people. This caused everyone to be extremely surprised. Maybe we will know in a while. Tonggu laughed. I believe there will definitely be a lot of people who will not be able to hold back. Shi Feng's heart trembled. This was a life and death battle. And Yi Zhaogu was also killed like this. It was still unknown whether he was dead or alive. These few days, he tried his best to not appear in front of Tang Tian. He suddenly realized a problem. If Tang Tian knew of his true identity, with his character, his own days would be even more difficult. This was the first battle. Tang Tian did not dare to be negligent. A good start was more important than anything else. Little fool Yaya, all come out. Tang Tian had to give it his all. That mysterious person and Yi Zhaoji's movements? Ren Ruhai asked. There is no news at the moment, but one thing is for sure, Yi Zhaogu is not dead. Tonggu said he had insider information. Although Yi Zhaogu had disappeared, he was not dead. Isn't this the mysterious person who kidnapped Yi Zhaogu? Shi Feng's face was full of smiles, and he was extremely careful. Definitely not Fu Zhongshan. The saints who were watching the battle outside the groundsmaster residence only saw the light barrier turning red not long ago, suddenly turning green. Everyone could not help but gasp at the same time. Everyone's conclusion was the same. This person was extremely dangerous. Decisive in killing, ruthless and cruel. For the sake of winning in 20 moves, he did not hesitate to mutilate his own hands. Such a ruthless person must definitely not be provoked. Looking at his shocking battle instincts, terrifying battle instincts, but what was truly terrifying was his unfathomable shrewdness. Tonggu and the rest's faces were extremely ugly. Li Ruo was hysterical. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The old man has already soul transformed. He definitely can't fight. I want to see what kind of saint is this. A burly man snorted and stepped out from the crowd. Seems like I can only fight to the death. He made up his mind. Tang Tian's body slightly leaned forward, as though he was about to pounce. Li Rua's injuries had already recovered, he said with resentment. It must be that old bastard. Seems like he has been guarding against me since the beginning. Everyone's spirit was shaken. This person was called Meng Ta, one of the strongest saints in ancient Cold City. His spirit value was as high as 136 points. He had been famous for many years, and his battle experience was extremely rich. Many people's eyes lit up. That's right, it might be some kind of special spirit technique. Usually this type of spirit technique, usually powerful, but the consumption is also very high. Chapter 5:12. Then let's work together. Meng Ta said contentedly. The outcome was better than what he had imagined, and he could accept it. He could not even feel bad about it. The other party did not do it on purpose. It was all because of the situation. This battle was not easy. But the situation? How did it become like this? Work together? Meng Ta was startled and asked, how do we work together? He regretted getting involved in this mess. Bing felt that the situation before him was extremely exquisite. One by one, they could not escape, they had to make a choice. And the best thing was that the independent saints came to him. He could not blame anyone. It was him. The other was to surrender. Too shameless. He was eagerly waiting for a strong martial artist to come and defeat the fool. Not good, someone beat me to it. Meng Ta's expression was calm. I did not expect you to be the one guarding, what a surprise. With just a few words, Tang Tian could feel the confidence that Meng Ta had in his strength. An expert. Little fool was fuming with anger, his gaze could kill. He was still holding a grudge against Meng Ta. You did not even make a move, and you still want me to refine a spirit treasure for you? Bing smiled. Subduing the enemy without fighting was the highest level of military strategy. The most important thing was, this feeling was simply too satisfying. Meng Ta's face finally changed. Until Tang Tian revealed his identity, Meng Ta's attitude made Bing's eyes light up. Tang Tian waved his hand. Small matter, when the time comes, I will let little fool refine one for you. That's right, the opponent is also very strong, to be able to hold on for so long. This was intimidation and threats. Meng Ta regained his composure. I do not wish to fight with you, nor do I wish to surrender. What do I do? The muscles on his face kept changing, and returned to his original appearance. Tang Tian stood up and encouraged, you have worked hard. Good. This is a good idea. Bing praised, Mr. Meng Ta is indeed talented, this is a great achievement. Meng Ta suggested, Master, everyone outside is watching, this is the best opportunity. We only need to purposely attack, create some momentum, and they will think that you are exhausted, and will rush in impatiently. Master, when the battle drags on, the people outside will think that you are struggling to hold on. At that time, you only need to do the same and you will definitely be able to capture all of them in one go. In ancient Cold City, the people from the 12 ecliptic palaces had been sparing no effort to recruit saints, but it was a pity that there were not many results. Most of the independent saints were undisciplined and did not like to be restricted, so it was extremely difficult to recruit these people. Tang Tian was stunned. I don't think so. Meng Ta smiled modestly. You flatter me, Master. Let's put it another way. However, these saints were no fools. They were well aware of the consequences of offending an overlord like Tang Tian. If Tang Tian publicly revealed his identity, he would be ganged up on. It would also attract the vigilance of the Honorable Martial Alliance and Onyx Soul, and increase their strength. Looking at the youth in front of him, he smiled bitterly in his heart. This was troublesome. The fact that the other party had revealed their true colors meant that there was no room for compromise between the two sides. Meng Ta had rich battle experience. He knew that in a battle of life and death, it was not entirely dependent on a person's strength. Those who were dangerous would often display extraordinary strength. Even if he was already suppressed to a corner and was in imminent danger, he would still be like a poisonous snake, ready to deal a fatal blow at any time. For the spirit treasures, Meng Ta sold out everyone in the blink of an eye. Meng Ta immediately became excited. If it was said that he still felt a tinge of regret previously, now he only felt that he had profited. Spirit Treasure Master. Tang Tian was actually a Spirit Treasure Master. To the independent saints, Spirit Treasure Masters were the most welcomed. Not far away, Meng Ta continuously bombarded the ground. His power was terrifying. After a while, Meng Ta stopped, wiped his sweat, and said to Tang Tian, "Master, it's about time." He was waiting for an opportunity. Only when the fool was heavily injured could he regain control of the body. Little Fool, who was wielding Yaya's umbrella, had absolute confidence in his own strength. Meng Ta was startled and immediately said anxiously, "So Master is also proficient in refining spirit treasures. There must be contributions. There must be contributions." Once they joined the Ursa Major constellation, it meant that they could not join other constellations. In the end, a strong martial artist came and then cowered, and then signed a cooperation contract. Actually, he had hidden a trap in it. In the current situation, to the saints, there were only two choices. Of course, true experts were arrogant, they were tough, they could not be subdued by force. How could they surrender? Meng Ta noticed the Yaya's umbrella in Little Fool's hands, and his eyes lit up. This spirit treasure is not bad. Independent saints were undisciplined and arrogant, but they were definitely not stupid. Stupid people would not be able to become saints. The only one who was not happy was Little Fool. His delicate and adorable face was gloomy. The previous 5 surrenders had already caused him to be unable to tolerate it. With the previous surrenders as a reference, this plan seemed to be much better. Meng Ta did not expect that the opponent would actually think of such a strange plan. After thinking for a while, he understood Bing's intention. It was such a good opportunity. If he were to miss it, he would definitely regret it till his intestines turned green. Meng Ta was overjoyed. "Thank you, Master." Simply too shameless. That was the brilliance of Bing. No powerhouse would reject the entry of a saint. On the contrary, every constellation was trying to recruit a saint. Bing's heart was blooming with joy. Furthermore, it was the saints who walked right into the trap. "See, you can't blame me. It was you who barged in yourself. There was no choice. It was not me who wanted you to surrender. It was the stronghold that forced you." If the opponent was just a saint, no matter how powerful he was, Meng Ta would not be afraid. But an overlord was different. Behind an overlord was a huge constellation, countless manpower and resources. There were many experts. It was a huge interest group. "It's my duty, it's my duty." Meng Ta hurriedly replied. He left through the door behind Tang Tian. One was to kill Tang Tian, and then be chased by Ursa Major constellation. Outside the stronghold, when everyone saw that the light barrier did not break, and instead returned to green, there was an uproar. Fu Zihong's eyes lit up. Uncle was really good at borrowing power, to actually break through the situation so easily. Tang Tian glanced at Meng Ta and said lazily, "Do you want to surrender too?" Everyone outside saw that the light barrier was extremely calm. There were no signs of fighting. Suddenly, there was a loud rumble. The light barrier trembled. It was obvious that there was a fight going on inside. "That's easy." A voice came in between the two of them. Bing floated out from Tang Tian's body. He had always been watching the fight. The previous 5 surrenders caused him to be dumbstruck, but he could not help but start to think. Military leaders were the best at thinking. In such a strange situation, an inspiration appeared in Bing's mind. The other party's attitude made Tang Tian retract his lazy look. Of course he knew who Tang Tian was. Ursa Major constellation was like the sun in the sky, consecutively swallowing Sky Dragon constellation and Cetus constellation. Their strength was close to the Ecliptic Palace constellations. Sitting on such a constellation was the most popular overlord recently. The method of cooperation is simple. You will join our Ursa Major constellation as a partner. We will not force you to participate in the battle, but if you choose to participate, then you will receive a corresponding share of the spoils of war. The more you contribute, the more benefits you will receive. Our Ursa Major constellation is considered a big constellation. In terms of strength, I believe you can be assured, the resources we can obtain will definitely be more than yours. Also, I believe, Ursa Major Constellation's initiative, most probably no one will doubt it. The other party is not feeling good either. The battle is too intense. If Tang Tian was outside, using Ursa Major Constellation's name, using such a plan, Meng Ta would definitely not care about it. But under such circumstances, he felt that the proposal was not bad. At least there was a certain degree of freedom. He did not put Tang Tian's strength in his eyes, but, if he killed Tang Tian, there was no need to wait for tomorrow. Ursa Major Constellation would use all their strength to deal with him, his family, disciples. No one would be able to escape. Definitely no constellation would protect him, even the Honorable Martial Alliance would not. Ursa Major Constellation was a group of battle maniacs. With a fearsome army, it would immediately signify war. A cold laugh resonated in Little Fool's mind. The saint was not a lone ranger. Meng Ta laughed bitterly. Can I pretend that I have never been here? Unknowingly, they had actually laid out an extremely ingenious plan. Meng Ta's face was full of smiles. My spirit treasures have always been inconvenient. I wonder if Master could. Tang Tian sat on the ground, leisurely eating an apple. Although Tang Tian had already promised, but Meng Ta knew, if he did not contribute, Master might not remember him in the future. Little Fool's gaze towards Meng Ta was filled with disdain and hatred. Little Fool was extremely disdainful of the Fool's origin seal. As expected of Meng Ta, this power is truly terrifying. If they were to use Ursa Major Constellation's name to recruit these saints, not many would be willing to bother with them. The reason why independent saints were free was because they did not want to join other powerhouses. Thinking about this battle, it was a battle of life and death. There was no leeway. Respecting the strong, Tang Tian said calmly, I am Tang Tian, the master of Ursa Major Constellation. When Meng Ta stepped into the light barrier, he saw the person guarding it, and his gaze congealed. He had personally witnessed the battle between Tang Tian and Yi Zhaoge, and he agreed with the analysis of Yi Zhaoge that was circulating around. But he was confident in his own strength, and was not afraid, but rather wary. Fu Zhongshan and the rest were completely shocked to the point that they could not speak. When Meng Ta appeared, everyone's heart sank. Meng Ta's reputation was well known. He was an absolute expert. Even Fu Zhongshan admitted that he was inferior to him. That's right, for such a long time, such an intense battle, even an Iron Saint would not be able to endure it. Surrender? Meng Ta chuckled. Although your strength is extraordinary, but it is not enough for me to surrender. But I am very curious about your true identity. The cunning old Bing coughed lightly. We can work together. I just refined it. I have not tried it yet. Tang Tian said. If Tang Tian publicly threatened the independent saints, then he would be attacked by all the independent saints. Not to mention, if all the saints in ancient Cold City were to unite, they could sweep Ursa Major Constellation a few times over. Meng Ta suddenly shivered, as though he was being stared at by someone. He looked around, and suddenly felt that he was too happy. Both parties signed the Saint Spirit contract. Meng Ta actually failed? First time refining, Little Fool seems to be very talented in this aspect. Tang Tian reacted and explained, Little Fool is my form spirit. Chapter 5:13. Everyone was in awe of the stagekeeper's tenacity, but they all agreed that even a man made of steel would not be able to last long under such intense battles, and would crumble at any moment. Swindling and deceiving were all left to Bing, and Bing would be able to do it outstandingly. Not all saints had families to support them, and there were some who were alone. Against such a stubborn person, Bing would resort to tempting them. Little Fool's face was as black as a sheet. He was treated like a trophy to be showcased by everyone. Walking on the street, feeling the chill of the night, Tang Tian was energized. He was originally prepared for battle, but who knew that he would not be able to use a single move, and the origin mark box that he had prepared was not even used. Fu Ying did not say a word and turned to leave. A moment later, Fu Ying appeared in the ancient cold inn. When he walked out of the inn, he was holding onto a Ho-Fa dagger. The terrifying blade aura was like a light python, suddenly crossing the entire street, straight towards Tang Tian's face. Impossible. Chia seemed to know something. She knew about Sexton's eye. I'll ask her next time. He flew up into the sky, closed his eyes, and sensed carefully. A young man in white, with a cold expression, stood amongst the crowd, and was extremely eye-catching. Tong Ji's pupils constricted. He recognized the young man in white. Teleportation? Fu Ying's eyes flashed a cold look. Also, we do not need to be the first to pass. Tong Gu revealed a look of confidence. Don't forget, there are still Fu Zhongshan and Yang Hao Ran inside. Their strength cannot be underestimated. When the time comes, I'm afraid that their counterattack will be even more ferocious. I never thought that he would actually come. Tong Gu sighed. This is troublesome. The surging blade aura was like a torrent, scorching the ground in a radius of 30 m. The aftermath destroyed the surrounding houses, and a few saints flew out in a panic. They wanted to curse out loud, but when they saw the symbol on Fu Ying's body, their faces changed, and they did not dare to say anything. Not sure. Tong Ji's face congealed and shook his head. Actually, after Meng Ta, I already felt that he would not have much strength left. I didn't expect that even after 3 of them came, they still couldn't take him down. This person's tenacity is truly terrifying. Sighs could be heard all around. Everyone felt that if they pushed a little more, the gatekeeper would definitely not be able to hold on. Who would have thought that just as they were about to win, the gatekeeper would activate the barrier? The protective barrier was raised, and all the saints dispersed. The streets were quiet. Ren Ruhai and the others also noticed this person. When their eyes fell on the mark on the man's chest, their expressions changed. Honorable Martial Alliance. Ordinary saints would not be able to deal with teleportation. But to Fu Ying, who had been on the battlefield for many years, he would not back down. Teleportation didn't have a lot of space to move around, and the place to escape wasn't very far. The light of Yaya's umbrella dimmed. Even the snow mountain on the umbrella's surface was broken. Ransom? Fu Ying's eyes flashed with killing intent as he raised his right palm. You're courting death. He raised his right palm and chopped down at the light barrier. He held onto the dormant spear, and walked around the ancient cold city seemingly aimlessly. Fu Ying snorted. Although the stronghold in front of him was strange, he had conquered countless strongholds, so he did not put it in his eyes. He lingered in the air for a while, but there was still no sign of the enemy's chi. The man in white walked in front of Tong Gu and asked coldly, "Where is Yi Zhaogu? How long do you think he can last?" Ren Ruhai asked. Fu Zhongshan and Yang Hao Ran, who were initially suspicious of Tang Tian, were now completely convinced by Tang Tian. Counting the number of saints in the Chancellor's residence, there were as many as 12. Within a day, 9 saints were under his command. Such an expansion speed was terrifying. No matter how strong you are, there will be a time when you will collapse. Li Ruo said coldly. His palm suddenly released a glaring light, like a small sun, causing people to be unable to look at it. Since you are hiding in your turtle shell, then I will break your shell. Look what a cute form spirit. He is called Little Fool, the first form spirit to be able to refine spirit treasures. Fu Zihong felt as though she was in a dream. She never thought that there would be a day where the number of saints in the Chancellor's residence would be so high. Fu Ying looked around and suddenly noticed the light barrier not far away. He squinted his eyes. He realized that he could not sense what was inside the light barrier. If that was the case, then there was only one possibility. A surging blade aura was released from his palm. Once it left his palm, it became dark and disappeared in the air. In the next moment, it appeared 700 feet away, as though it had drilled out from the void and instantly engulfed the house. Bang! Hence, everyone was fighting to pass the barrier. Everyone was betting that they would be the one to succeed. Fu Ying frowned. He did not manage to hit his target. Tong Ji's expression returned to normal. I never thought that I would meet Master Fu Ying here. However, Master Fu Ying's question has stumped me. You can't be thinking that I am the one behind this, right? What was the problem? The force from the umbrella caused Tang Tian and Little Fool's expressions to change. The two figures, one big and one small, flew out as though they were hit by a heavy hammer. That's right. Ren Ruhai nodded and said, "We do need to find a few more like-minded experts. Let's leave the vanguard to these idiots." A loud sound could be heard from within the light barrier. From the intensity of the light barrier's vibrations, one could see the power of the explosion. The dazzling light shone through the light barrier, illuminating the night sky. Ren Ruhai's face turned pale. Bang! The entrance of the stronghold was in chaos. Many saints were fighting inside. Even a strong martial artist like Ren Ruhai did not dare to step into the chaos. Tang Tian, who had been holding back the entire day, took this opportunity to sneak out of the Chancellor's residence. Although the single-valve stronghold was airtight, with Bing around, he could still fight his way out. Bing had specially created a backdoor for Tang Tian. Tang Tian could use it to teleport out. Of course, there was a certain level of risk. However, with the current strength of the stronghold, there was no need to be afraid of anyone coming in. The other two nodded in agreement. Tang Tian scoffed, "Yi Xiaogu is now my captive. As long as you pay the ransom, I will hand him over to you." Why was it completely different from what he had imagined? Why was it that every time, he would lose control of the situation? The difference in strength immediately caused Tang Tian to wake up. He picked up the injured Little Fool and teleported, disappearing. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, raised his palm and slashed towards the house that was 700 m away. The blade aura swept across the sky, causing a tremor that sounded like a dragon's roar. The opponent was hiding inside the light barrier. "What a pity, this person will have a chance to breathe," Tong Gu said. Everyone was familiar with the single-valve stronghold's characteristics. It was a protective layer formed by the stronghold absorbing the chaotic energy from the battles. For such a ferocious person to appear in ancient Cold City, to everyone, it was like a thorn in their backs. Was that asshole dead or alive? His emotions were complicated. In the past, he only had hatred for that asshole. But now that he knew more, he could not hate him. Although he did not understand, but he could vaguely see the big net behind him. That year, the situation was much more dangerous and complicated than what he had imagined. Fu Ying had always been at the front lines. He was the Honorable Martial Alliance's blade, and was known as Killer Ying. Among the Bronze Saints, he was definitely ranked in the top 10. The number of Bronze Saints that had died in his hands was uncountable. His figure flickered lightly, and he flew over 1,000 feet, heading forward. Suddenly, he stopped and slashed again 1,000 feet away. "He is coming for Yi Xiaogu." Li Ruo's voice had a tinge of fear. Right at this moment, the light barrier suddenly expanded, completely protecting the groundsmaster's residence. A layer of gentle light aura lit up from the umbrella. Cold chi filled the air, and the water rippled. Yaya's umbrella spun around. The single-valve stronghold was a strange stronghold. He had already locked on to the opponent's chi. As long as the opponent was in ancient Cold City, he would not be able to escape his search. Seems like Elder Rongbo really likes Yi Xiaogu. He actually sent Master Fu Ying here. I do not dare to play any tricks in front of you. If I have any news, I will definitely inform you. Tong Gu said. Bang, bang. So he was from the Honorable Martial Alliance. The blade light was still deflected by Yaya's umbrella, and flew into the sky. Suddenly, Tong Ji's gaze was attracted by a figure. So many years had passed. Was he dead or alive? 9. Tong Gu reported an accurate number. Tang Tian's eyes were filled with confusion. Buzz. That's right. Tong Gu nodded his head, but we have to find more people. If not, when the opportunity arises, we will not be able to rush over. Within a radius of 10 m, everything was turned into ashes, leaving behind a charred pit. A small umbrella appeared in front of the blade light. How many have entered? Ren Ruhai asked. Although the people in front had all fallen, the saints continued to advance. Every battle inside was solid, and some of them even lasted for 4 hours. It was obvious that the other party was bitterly holding on. Tang Tian felt a strong sense of danger the moment Fu Ying raised his palm. Without thinking, he shouted, "Xiao Air." Xiao Air's face darkened. He had been thinking about it for the past few days. At that moment, the entire ancient cold city fell into a dead silence. All the saints were overwhelmed with shock. Fu Ying did not even look at them. He was still searching. The attack just now had not hit its target. Tang Tian walked aimlessly, thinking about his own matters. A palm strike. Hand Yi Zhao Ge over. Fu Ying said. Only you can't think of it, but there is nothing he can't cultivate. Genius Spirit Treasure Master. Ren Ruhai and Li Ruo kept quiet. Fu Ying felt his gaze and turned to look at him. The white-robed man walked towards Tonggu. Damn it. Fu Ying's intuition was very strong. Fu Ying deduced that he was not injured after receiving his attack. His strength was much stronger than he had imagined. You don't have the ability, Fu Ying said coldly. It was only until a white-robed man appeared in front of Tang Tian that he regained his senses. At the start, Tang Tian was rather pleased with today's defense, but very quickly he felt bored. This umbrella is beautiful. It's freshly made. Bronze lower grade? No, it's definitely a bronze middle grade. This was an extremely powerful force. Chapter 5:14. No. Tang Tian shook his head and said with concern, Xiao Air, you should rest well. Why are you refining a spirit treasure now? Don't worry, I will definitely avenge you. Fu Ying would definitely not give up so easily. But Tang Tian looked at the report in his hands expressionlessly. He then turned and left to see Xiao Air. To reform his body, he would need to continuously use spirit techniques and energy to stabilize his spirit domain. And now, the only thing he could do was to refine a spirit treasure. Fu Ying moved like a ghost and appeared hundreds of feet away in a flash. His left arm was completely gone and his white robe was charred black. The saints in ancient Cold City were all shocked by such a shocking attack. Fu Ying's powerful battle prowess was already inconceivable to them. The title of Hero of Killer was indeed well-deserved. To be able to enter the top 10 bronze saints was someone they had to look up to. Are we really going to refine it? Tang Tian was suspicious. But very quickly he sneered. The reason why Fu Ying appeared in ancient Cold City was because he was entrusted by Elder Rong Bo to save Yi Zhaogu. He had just retired from the battlefield, which was equivalent to a vacation. That was why he had the leisure to make this trip. Tang Tian continued, Tell Tang Chou to finish off Big Dipper as soon as possible. Seeing this, Tang Tian gathered a group of saints. With so many saints, it would be a waste not to make use of them. He slowly squinted his eyes. Deep in his eyes, he was filled with killing intent. Thinking about how Crazy Tang almost got into trouble, his heart tightened. Luckily Crazy Tang was fine. If something had happened, they then realized that they were all rushing to break through the barrier in the day. Now that they thought about it, they were all scared. In that moment, Tang Tian actually had nothing to do. Suddenly his face changed. Tang Tun was ambushed. Because of the commotion last night, no one dared to break through the barrier. The scene of Fu Ying being injured was too shocking. In everyone's eyes, the single-valve stronghold had become even more unfathomable. Tang Tian immediately went to gather the saints. Upon hearing that little fool wanted to refine spirit treasures, everyone became excited. But Tang Tian's spirit treasure was obviously not that easy to obtain. Only those who decided to participate in the battle with the Honorable Martial Alliance would be able to obtain the spirit treasure first. Little Fool's condition was not too good. His figure was a little disorganized. Bing was currently directing the repair of the stronghold, although there were not many damages, but towards the war, Bing's attitude was meticulous. The waiter's face twitched. I want the soul refining treasure. I want the soul refining treasure. Little Fool's face darkened, and his childish voice sounded like a child who was angry. The energy barrier was struck by a light whip and burst like a bubble. At the brink of life and death, Fu Ying glared angrily at Fu Ying. He roared and channeled all his true power into his left palm as he slashed at the lightning. Fu Ying flew for a few thousand miles in one breath before stopping. He casually slashed downwards, and with a boom, a deep pit with a diameter of over 6 meters appeared beneath his feet. He then flew down. That's right, let's fight. Now, these fellows were still far from being able to fight alone. There was another piece of information that attracted Tang Tian's attention. Not far from Sexton's constellation, an honorable martial alliance army was gathering. The honorable martial alliance did not specialize in armies, but as the war progressed, the honorable martial alliance realized that the advantages of armies were not something saints could compare to, and started to develop armies. Bing's mouth was wide open, but he could not say a word. To a military leader who revered plans and strategies, such arbitrary and impulsive actions were simply preposterous. But against Tang Tian's unreasonable decision, Bing was powerless to oppose. Bing handed over the responsibility of defense to Fu Zihong. The young lady's talent was actually quite good, and with more training, she might be able to hold her own. As for Bing himself, he entered Three Spirits City from the Martial Spirit Chamber, and from Three Spirits City to Ursa Major Constellation. He wanted to meet up with the rookies from the Sky Martial Wolf Academy in advance. They were the backbone that he had painstakingly nurtured, and he did not want them to die just like that. Single valve stronghold? The other party was obviously startled, and his eyes lit up. Where is it? Fu Ying had suffered such a huge loss, and would definitely not let it go. And the Red Leaf Army's mobilization was even more obvious that a huge war was approaching. Rather than that, it would be better to get the spirit treasures, and in the war, it would increase their chances of survival. After a moment, Bing suddenly laughed lightly. The originally dim light barrier suddenly erupted with light, and the light barrier trembled violently. The saints inside the light barrier were shocked to realize that the light barrier had a layer of densely packed fine lightning. The fine lightning was gathering at an astonishing speed. Who dared to ambush Tangtan? All right, Bing said subconsciously, but he quickly reacted, that's not right. If we openly send out an army, it will cause the other constellations to retaliate. And if we clash with the Red Leaf Army, it will not be in line with our original plan. This also started the precedent of the Gold Branch Palace building an army, and the other branches all followed suit and built their own armies. Then let's fight. Tang Tian interrupted him. This brat had indeed become tyrannical. His heart was bleeding. Those despicable people who surrendered were coveting his spirit treasures. He had long decided not to refine spirit treasures for them, but he did not expect that he would actually be injured. Little fool, are you all right? Tang Tian squatted down, his face full of worry. I have finished changing. Bing could not help but be cautious. Crazy Tang was going to go crazy. Fu Ying's strength was indeed something that Tang Tian had never seen before in his life. Landing in the cave, his honorable martial plate suddenly lit up, transforming into a light screen, and a person with a face full of sunshine appeared on the light screen. Seeing Fu Ying in such a sorry state, he was shocked. What happened to you? The other saints were completely shocked by Tang Tian's performance. With just a few words, they could see that a bitter battle was about to begin. Fu Ying only felt a ferocious current of energy suddenly crushing down on him. His left arm could be seen with the naked eye, charred black, charred, and flying ashes, but his desperate attack gave him a chance to live. He endured the pain, gathered his remaining energy, and retreated. Tang Tian was not afraid at all. Instead, he was full of fighting spirit. The army that was assembled was called the Red Leaf Army, and the military leader was called Jones. Jones was not from the Honorable Martial Alliance, but was from the Dolphin Constellation, and was discovered by Fu Ying during one of his missions. After that, Jones displayed his outstanding military talent and was appointed to form the Red Leaf Army. Even Hero of Killers was heavily injured. These saints were very clear, since they had already joined the Ursa Major Constellation, they could not avoid being branded with the Ursa Major Constellation's brand. If they were to clash with the Honorable Martial Alliance, the Honorable Martial Alliance would definitely not let them off just because they did not participate in the war. The gentle white ball of light protected his entire body, but the sense of danger in his heart did not diminish at all. He did not dare to imagine the outcome. Swoosh! He quickly ran towards the secret door that he had left behind, and a figure appeared out of thin air, and when he landed, he staggered. It had been a long time since he saw Crazy Tang in such a difficult situation, but for some reason, Bing's heart was suddenly filled with anger. They had already secretly informed their families, and asked them to migrate to the Ursa Major constellation. Bing's head was in a mess. Once Crazy Tang went crazy, he would be unreasonable. It was obvious that Crazy Tang did not want to be reasonable anymore. Fu Ying's face changed. The intense sense of danger caused all the hairs on his body to stand. He immediately released his energy barrier. His energy barrier was the Honorable Martial Alliance's Honorable Martial Protection. Attack the barrier? Bing looked at Tang Tian. His heart was slightly worried. Crazy Tang had always been carefree. It was rare to see him so full of killing intent. Bang! Tang Tian did not expect that no one would hesitate. Although the Red Leaf Army had just been formed, the quality of the soldiers was very high. Fu Ying even persuaded the 10th Gold Sub-Palace to send a large number of gold-ranked martial artists to be the backbone of the army. Tang Tian asked expressionlessly, "Has the Sky Martial Wolf Academy finished changing their equipment?" Tang Tian received the information from Bell, and finally understood Fu Ying's background. Fu Ying was a member of the Honorable Martial Alliance's tribunal. Every member of the tribunal was a killing machine, and Fu Ying was even more fanatical about fighting. He had always been in the most dangerous place, and ever since the war between the Honorable Martial Alliance and Leo Constellation broke out, he had been on the battlefield. Fu Ying, who was in the sky, faced the light barrier and slashed down with his palm. The blade aura gushed out and transformed into a dazzling current. With a whistling sound, it crashed into the light barrier. Little Fool looked at Tang Tian. He was not moved at all. His face was full of misfortune. He felt that he was unlucky. Why was he the one who blocked that attack? If it was this fool, he reckoned that he would have already regained control. "I will bring people over now," the other party said without hesitation. Sexton's constellation, ancient cold city. Fu Ying squeezed the words out of his mouth. After suffering such a huge loss, if he did not get back at Fu Ying, he would not be Tang Tian. Fu Ying's spirit value had actually reached a shocking 298 points. He did not expect that he would need to refine spirit treasures in order to recover his strength. An Honorable Martial Alliance army, just thinking about it made him look forward to it. He had just refined and repaired the Yaya umbrella, and his body was indeed stronger, at the cost of consuming a large number of star rocks. Fu Ying closed the Honorable Martial plate, sat down cross-legged, threw a pill into his mouth, and began to meditate. Fu Ying's figure quickly disappeared into the horizon, and his sharp voice resonated throughout the snowy plains. "None of you will escape. We have been tricked." Fu Ying's face turned green. "We have encountered a single-valve stronghold, and Yi Zhaoge has yet to be rescued." He had the urge to kill himself. What made him even more depressed was that he needed to reform his body. Let them gather. A few of the saints who had trained in eye-related spirit techniques were even more fearful. Everyone looked at the light barrier of the stronghold, their eyes filled with fear. The single-valve stronghold had been lost for many years, and in everyone's eyes, it was just a strange stronghold. But when they personally witnessed the earth-shattering attack, these independent saints were all stunned. Their vision suddenly brightened, as a lightning bolt as thick as an arm lit up the night sky, and with the speed of lightning, it struck his energy barrier. That's right. Little Fool could no longer be bothered to look at Tang Tian. Chapter 5:15. Poison. Lots of poison. We only have one target this time, and that is Fu Ying. Don't even think about being merciful, we just want to get rid of him. Tang Tian was definitely an outstanding school tyrant. 3 Spirit City. Old Man Fei did not expect Tang Tian to come, and was overjoyed. Although there was no smithing bitch, the current 3 Spirits City was more like a training ground for mechanical weapons. This person's character must be extreme and stubborn. To be able to train the honorable martial spirit / to a spirit value of 210 is unheard of. That's right, boss's idea is brilliant. Tang Tian took out the information sent by Bell and asked everyone to take a seat. Then he distributed the information to everyone. Tang Tian did not hear what they were saying, but he felt that the idea of using puppets was not bad. He had a feeling that it would be difficult to use the Sea of Clouds to trap Fu Ying, and he needed to add more ingredients. Just like how Bing commanded the army, the complicated control aura was something that Tang Tian could not catch up to. But if it was a group fight, Bing would not be able to fight against Tang Tian. Tang Tian's unorthodox ideas were endless, and those seemingly absurd ideas were often very effective. There were also many other bad ideas. Every time this happened, Bing would be stunned. Meng Ta was the most cunning. After hearing Tang Tian's words, he immediately knew that it was a good opportunity to show off. Furthermore, it was obvious that whoever spoke first would gain the upper hand. He coughed lightly and took the lead. No matter how powerful a saint is, there will always be a weakness. Although Fu Ying is powerful, he is still a high-level country bumpkin. Tang Tian decided to go to Three Spirits City to take a look. As for his arm, when he returned to the honorable martial group, there would naturally be a way to recover. But when he thought about that night, a ruthless look surfaced in his eyes. He had dominated the battlefield and killed countless people. When had he ever suffered such a loss? Other than that, Fu Ying's energy barrier was the honorable martial protection. He had spent much less effort on it, and only had 20 spirit value points. Meng Ta did not forget to flatter Tang Tian, but it had to be said that he had summed it up well. Occupying 210 spirit value, this should be a spirit technique belonging to a silver saint. Fu Ying's handsome face was now filled with malevolence. He did not bother to conceal his killing intent. His left arm was only left with a small piece of charred skin. His tone was cold. You have two choices. One is to become my subordinate, and the other is to die. After this, I'll let you live. Everyone's hearts trembled. It was effective against saints, and the other technique that took up even more spirit value was his flying spirit technique, Shadow Step. Shadow Step was not an exclusive spirit technique of the Honorable Martial Alliance, but a common technique, but he was able to forcefully comprehend this common technique to a spirit value of 68 points. Upon hearing the two words spirit treasure, everyone's morale immediately rose. Tang Tian muttered to himself, "Sigh, how could I forget that?" This type of spirit technique was usually cultivated by the saints of the big powers, as it was more suitable for war. Independent saints were usually lone wolves, and very few of them would cultivate it. Although it could trap the enemy, it lacked the ability to kill in one strike. It should not be a problem for him to deal with ordinary bronze saints. With a casual honorable martial spirit / no one would be able to block it. His outstanding flying spirit technique allowed him to increase his power, but he still has a weakness. His defense is too weak, and although his flying spirit technique is outstanding, it is still far from reaching 100 spirit value. Let's target his weakness. The three of them felt their scalps go numb. The current Fu Ying was like a demon. His terrifying aura made it impossible for them to resist. Even Tong Gu knew that it was not the right time to go against him. But Tang Tian, who had been a school tyrant before, knew that battles were not only limited to duels. Ganging up on an opponent was also an effective method. Of course, the level of ganging up on an opponent would show the level of a school tyrant. The other saints were shocked. Sea of Clouds was a type of large-scale spirit technique. It could create a sea of clouds and trap the enemy. Once trapped in the Sea of Clouds, one would lose their sense of direction. They would think that they were flying in a straight line, but in fact they were flying in circles. Master, this is our latest developed poison, White Illusion. Its biggest characteristic is that it does not enter the human body through breathing, but through energy. As long as a little bit of energy is infected by the White Illusion, once it enters the body, it will quickly spread. It will directly affect the spirit domain and create all sorts of illusions. Everyone was cursing in their hearts. This bootlicker, why didn't they see this in the past? But on the surface, they were praising Fu Ying. Meng Ta's eyes lit up. Great. Fu Ying's strength was indeed much higher than his. Regarding this, Tang Tian had no choice but to admit. That slash immediately caused Little Fool's body to scatter. This kind of attack was something that Tang Tian had never seen before. Meng Ta was also excited. If he could get rid of Fu Ying, just thinking about it made him excited. Needless to say, it was good to have a big tree to lean on. Even before the battle started, he had already gotten the enemy's information. He did not plan to wait for the Red Leaf Army. His figure flew out of the cave and towards the ancient cold city. Continue. Tang Tian was excited. As expected of Fu Ying, he was quite good at it. Everyone's face was pale. Entering the ancient cold city and seeing the single-valve stronghold, Fu Ying's eyes flashed a cold light. Because of his battle, the independent saints did not dare to barge in. Bing would definitely not admit that Tang Tian was more intelligent than others. He attributed it to Tang Tian's battle instincts. Can we add something into the sea of clouds to attract Fu Ying's attention? For example, a puppet? It would be best if it had the chi of a saint. Tang Tian asked. He thought about the battle last night and said, his intuition is very strong. Even if I use teleportation, it would be difficult to escape from his senses. Everyone was enlightened. Using the sea of clouds to trap the enemy and then using the spirit treasure to kill him in one strike was a good idea. A few of the saints were envious. The sea of clouds was not very useful to the independent saints. But now that everyone had joined the Ursa Major constellation, it would be very useful. This guy would definitely be put in an important position. No one said anything. They were all looking at the information in their hands. If the information was true, then Fu Ying's strength was too strong. With a sea of clouds with a spirit value of 70, Fu Ying would definitely not be able to escape. Then let's use the sea of clouds to trap him and give him a good beating. Meng Ta said, everyone spread out. This way he can disperse his attacks. Boss is really wise. Everyone's hair stood on end. They then remembered that the first poison battle was started by their boss. The entire Onyx Soul was in an uproar. At that time, Heaven's Road was in a state of fear. The terrifying scene was still fresh in everyone's mind. Spirit value of 298. There was only one attack spirit technique, Honorable Martial Spirit slash. Renru Hai and the other two's faces changed. They were all on guard. With the white illusion in his hands, Tang Tian's confidence soared. Seeing this, everyone could not help but take in a deep breath. Honorable Martial Spirit slash was a common technique among the bronze spirit techniques of the Honorable Martial Alliance. The initial spirit value was only 8 points. It was not even comparable to Tang Tian's teleportation. But Fu Ying had invested an unlimited amount of effort into this seemingly ordinary spirit technique. Currently, his Honorable Martial Spirit slash was already at 210 points. It was only 20 points away from the record of 230 points that the Honorable Martial Alliance, Honorable Martial Spirit slash, could achieve. Everyone was speechless. 10 minutes is enough. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. Everyone was attracted by Meng Ta's words. Even Tang Tian was listening attentively. Meng Ta was even more excited. No wonder Fu Ying's attacks were so terrifying. I have to go take a look. Sigh, the last time they said that they had developed a new poison that was effective against saints, Old Man Fei gave Tang Tian a large amount of antidote. If he consumed it in advance, he would be able to avoid being affected by the white illusion during the battle. If they were to be affected, it would definitely be a disaster. Hearing Tang Tian's intention, Old Man Fei did not hesitate to take out a crystal tube. Seeing everyone's gaze, the saint was slightly embarrassed. I have another spirit treasure. Fu Ying opened his eyes in the cave. His eyes were filled with killing intent. His left arm had completely disappeared, leaving behind only a small part that was charred black. But after 2 days of recuperation, his battle strength had recovered. Tang Tian's opening speech set the tone for the discussion. Meng Ta praised, as expected of the boss. Your brain is not something we can compare to. Tang Tian was slightly unhappy. He stared at the crowd. I asked all of you here to think of a solution. Today, all of you have to think of a solution, regardless of whether it is good or bad. If anyone can't think of a solution, we will talk about the spirit treasure later. A spirit value of 68 points, shadow step. It is unimaginable. Meng Ta sighed. This Fu Ying was not valued in the Honorable Martial Alliance. He did not even train in any powerful spirit techniques. Meng Ta turned to ask the rest. A saint raised his hand. I, Sea of Clouds, have a spirit value of 70 points. He wanted to prepare a feast for Fu Ying. Shadow Step only has a spirit value of 5 points. For him to be able to train it to 68 points, he is indeed powerful. But Shadow Step is a spirit technique that emphasizes on dodging in a small area, and not in a straight line. Since that is the case, we need a large area of effect attack, one that he cannot escape from in an instant. Who is trained in a large area of effect illusion spirit technique. He only has 3 types of spirit techniques. To sum it up, he has a silver rank attack, an outstanding but not top-notch bronze rank movement, and a terrible bronze rank defense. That is why I said he is just a high-level country bumpkin without a spirit treasure. Compared to a tyrant-like boss, he is simply incomparable. Fu Ying sensed for a while and flew towards the west of the city. After a while, he appeared in front of Ren Ruhai and the other 2. To surround and attack a target, one had to be prepared beforehand. In other words, one should not fight a battle without preparation. Fu Ying did not care about them and said coldly, "Let us go and pay a visit to the most powerful ones." Old Man Fei then carefully said, "Saints are very strong in all aspects. The white illusion has a limited time. It can only last for 10 minutes before the opponent's spirit domain will recognize it and kill it." Tang Tian raised his head. "How about poison?" "I have a lot of poisons, poisonous smoke, poisonous fog and the like. If it is mixed in the Sea of Clouds, they will not be able to tell. This is a good idea. It would be best if it is a white smoke. Puppets, using them in the Sea of Clouds, why did no one think of this before?" Chapter 5:16. Fu Ying floated above the ancient cold city. His 7 subordinates gathered all the saints in the city. Many of the saints saw that the situation was not good and tried to escape, but they were all killed by Fu Ying. Jones was not worried about Fu Ying. To him, Fu Ying's injury was just an accident. Fu Ying's battle prowess was unquestionable. Even Jones, who had always advocated for unity, felt that Fu Ying had the ability to break the balance. The adjutant's breathing became heavier. Little Fool listened to Tang Tian and Meng Ta's discussion without saying a word. He was very attentive to their discussion. After listening, he was satisfied. It had to be said that Meng Ta was indeed a person who could make wild guesses and hit the nail on the head. The reason why he agreed to send troops was because he was very interested in the single-valve stronghold. Any military leader would be tempted by a stronghold that had been lost in history. On the other hand, he had a close relationship with Fu Ying. If not for Fu Ying's support, he would not have been able to sit in this position. "Stop talking nonsense, hurry up." Jones interrupted the adjutant and frowned. "Our target is the ancient cold city." His threat was very powerful. No one dared to resist, and no one dared to surrender. Every saint that entered the stronghold was a solid battle. But the opponent's gatekeeper was very tenacious, and was able to hold on. "Yes." The adjutant immediately replied, but he could not help but add, "But I think that by the time we arrive, Master Fu Ying would have already massacred the entire ancient cold city." He had to enter the ancient cold city before everyone else could react. All the saints in the city gathered together. One by one, break through the stronghold. If you die, you will be able to protect your family. Whoever surrenders, I will kill his entire family. Every saint held a secret treasure that could record everything that happened here, and they would record everything that happened here. The Altar Constellation and Pictor Constellation spent a lot of effort to get one for each of them. Outside the single-valve stronghold. This was the only way to minimize the impact of the battle. Little Fool laughed coldly in his heart, his killing intent overflowing. Fu Ying's mouth curled into a cold smile. Little Fool calculated the possible changes that Fu Ying might make, his cold eyes flashing with excitement. But he did not want to open up another battlefront because of himself. The Martial Group and Leo Constellation were fighting intensely. If they were to open up a new battlefront at the back, they would be attacked from the front and the back. Fu Ying stood at the back with killing intent. He was well versed in the art of war and had a wealth of battle experience. Under the lead of Ren Ruhai and the others, he found the most powerful saints and forced them to become his subordinates. There were 7 people in his hands. All of them were the strongest saints in ancient Cold City. Meng Ta's train of thought was good, and it was highly feasible. However, his methods were too simple, and he was not good at deceiving people. It didn't matter. He could help them enrich their methods of attack and deception. Everyone couldn't help but laugh knowingly. Even Tang Tun had to admit that Meng Ta was extremely cunning and wretched. They all knew that Fu Ying was using them as cannon fodder to exhaust his opponent's strength. However, they did not expect the Honorable Martial Alliance to be so overbearing and unscrupulous. They were just a flock of sheep. Jones made up his mind to end the battle quickly. He wanted to end the battle before the other parties could react. He was really looking forward to it. After killing 5 people consecutively, no one dared to escape. Outside of the sea of clouds, there was a layer of mirage light. It would be even more confusing. Furthermore, the cunning little fool had already thought of what the mirage light would mimic. It would mimic the ancient Cold City, and even the location would be the same. Fu Ying retracted his gaze and stared coldly at the stronghold. He was waiting for the stronghold to be breached. When that time came, he wanted the entire stronghold to be soaked in blood, leaving nothing behind. "They're coming for us." Jones glanced at his adjutant and clicked his tongue. "You don't look good." It was not his style to only have illusions without killing techniques. Little Fool suppressed the excitement in his heart and quickly thought about it. If Xiang Ying found out that the ancient Cold City was fake, what would his first reaction be? This sudden news caused the surrounding atmosphere to suddenly become heavy. But Fu Ying knew that he would not be able to hold on for long. Everyone had a critical point. Once this critical point was crossed, they would completely collapse. Jones frowned. What does the Ursa Major constellation mean by this? There was no need to put themselves in danger. Meng Ta was too cunning. This is a good opportunity. Jones suddenly said, "The higher-ups have no confidence in us. If we can defeat the mechanical army, it will definitely be a good thing for us." The Ursa Major constellation's energy is now tied up in Big Dipper, and the only army left is the mechanical army. The Sea of Clouds was a large-scale illusion and was very practical. But the opponent was an experienced combat expert, and this degree was far from enough. The strange movements of the Red Leaf Army had attracted the attention of various parties. As one of the parties in the war, the movement of the Honorable Martial Alliance Army would attract attention no matter where it was. He was actually beaten to the point that his body and spirit were scattered, and he almost lost his life. How could the arrogant little fool endure such a thing? This was human nature, a foolish human nature. One by one, the saints took turns to enter the stronghold. They are going to break through. Tang Tian rubbed his hands together. He was worried that the independent saints would not come to break through the stronghold, but Fu Ying had helped them a lot. But the 5 bloody corpses on the ground woke everyone up. Furthermore, the saints who were guarding in all directions were the strongest among them, and they had all become Fu Ying's minions. The miraculous use of the Sea of Clouds, the confusion of the puppets, were all memorized by him. How could the sinister little fool be satisfied with just these? From his point of view, Meng Ta's way of thinking was correct. However, Meng Ta's methods were really useless. He didn't even care about the poison that the fool had mentioned. 2 of them refused, and were killed on the spot. Fu Ying's cold and arrogant voice floated down from the sky, and the saints' faces all changed. Everyone's faces were filled with grief and anger. Although they could guess Fu Ying's intentions, but when Fu Ying said those words so arrogantly, the humiliation they felt caused them to tremble in anger. How exciting! Beside him, the saints were all furious. Saints had their own pride, and seeing the saints being bullied outside, they were all enraged. He had forgotten that he was no longer an independent saint. It was not only Tang Tian who wanted to prepare a feast for Fu Ying, but also Little Fool. Fu Ying looked down at the cannon fodder below him. With these cannon fodder, he could easily flatten the stronghold. 36 saints. Although they were slightly weaker, but when they gathered together, they would definitely be a powerful force. A spirit treasure gradually formed in his mind. All the independent saints in ancient Cold City were chased to the front of the stronghold. If we win, the Ursa Major constellation will suffer. I don't know. The adjutant's face was ugly. Not only him, but the rest of the people also had ugly expressions. The Ursa Major constellation and the Honorable Martial Alliance had a hostile relationship, and the Honorable Martial Alliance had suffered a few losses under the hands of the Ursa Major constellation. Unfortunately, the Honorable Martial Alliance was held back by the Leo constellation, and could not find the time to teach the Ursa Major constellation a lesson. Instead, the Ursa Major constellation's strength had increased exponentially. Absolutely unbearable. The saints were in an uproar. Everyone looked at Fu Ying with eyes that were spewing fire. Imagining Fu Ying struggling free from the sea of clouds, thinking that he had escaped from the illusion, only to be played by the mirage light, Little Fool could feel his blood boiling. Meng Ta shouted, "Everyone, take a good picture. Take a good picture of everyone's expressions. Oh, and the corpses on the floor, it's too bloody, too brutal, too inhumane." The Honorable Martial Alliance has trampled on the dignity of the independent saints. This is unforgivable. All of us independent saints must unite together to resist the Honorable Martial Alliance. Jones laughed helplessly. I hope that they do not destroy the stronghold. If not, we would have wasted our time. If the Mirage Light was the main focus, then they would use the Pisces constellation's treasure. The Pisces constellation's true and false illusion had always been strong. Fu Ying looked at the light barrier expressionlessly. As compared to the previous time when he attacked, the light barrier had shrunk a lot. Inside the light barrier, there was a flickering light aura and rumbling sounds. It was obvious that there was an intense battle going on inside. The adjutant was a little ashamed. Indeed, he was frightened by the Ursa Major constellation. Even though he was injured and could only refine spirit treasures, he still had the power to retaliate. It was simple. A spirit treasure that could kill him could solve all his problems. So this is Sexton's constellation? The adjutant looked around and was disappointed. The energy concentration is not that high. It was a pity that they were just a motley crew. Little Fool did not even want the fool to help him take revenge. Since when did he have to fall to the point where he needed others to help him take revenge? The previous time when he was injured, it made him fearful of the single-valve stronghold. The stronghold that was lost in history was filled with danger. Who knew if there were other killing techniques inside? Inside the stronghold, Tang Tian laughed coldly. He thought about what Uncle Bing had said before. If the gods want to destroy you, they must first make you crazy. As expected, Uncle Bing was a cultured person. His words were so reasonable. The saints revealed looks of despair. Jones glanced at the adjutant. This is a huge merit. It would be difficult for the 7 strongest saints to kill the 36 people. But if they were to surround them and give them hope, they would not have the courage to resist. Suddenly, the triangulum constellation treasure on the adjutant's body vibrated. The adjutant immediately received the information. After a while, his face changed. The mechanical army of the Ursa Major constellation has entered Sexton's constellation. If these images were to spread, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. Ordinary people would definitely not dare to provoke the anger of the masses. But Fu Ying, who had come from the battlefield, knew that without a leader, these people would not be able to resist. So when he returned to ancient Cold City, he quickly gathered the 7 strongest saints into his subordinates. Fu Ying's killing intent was so heavy that it caused people to be fearful. It was not the first time he had massacred an entire city. As long as he was on the battlefield, there would not be any casualties. Ancient Cold City. Chapter 517. The 7 of them were very fast. Very quickly, they rushed to the valve entrance, which was where the original guards were. Only with the power of the stronghold could such a situation occur. Even the power of the stronghold was still holding on, and that was shocking enough. Such a powerful stronghold was unheard of. If not for the fact that it was the famous single-valve stronghold in history, he would have suspected that there was something more to it. Yao was immediately unhappy and shouted, "Master, are you looking down on us? We have many new companions, and we have many more future. But once all the strongholds are breached, we will be able to embrace the beauties without any protection. If this is not lost, how can we live on?" "That's right, Xiaowu, work harder. I hate the Honorable Martial Alliance the most. In the past, they swaggered around our Lupus constellation. If we do not beat them up like dogs, I will change my surname to theirs." "It is not that I am looking down on you," Bing said, "although the Red Leaf Army is newly formed, but they are still the backbone of the Honorable Martial Alliance's 10th Gold Branch Palace. You bunch of rookies, what do you have to fight against them?" The 7 of them were roused and rushed in like a swarm of bees. He was even more glad that he did not rush in rashly. Under such a strong attack, they were able to hold on for such a long time. This single-valve stronghold was truly powerful. Fu Ying's face revealed a sinister smile, and he shouted, "Rush in! Kill them all! Leave no one alive!" More importantly, these saints did not spend a single star coin, and were given to them for free. Xiao Wu, this time I will definitely not let you win. I want a new mechanical spirit weapon. All of these saints hated Fu Ying to the core, and all sorts of sinister methods were constantly thought of. All the methods that they were not willing to use to protect their lives were now used without hesitation. But he had already noticed that the light barrier was getting thinner, and this made him feel relieved. The cannon fodder was not wasted. Seems like my strategy was correct. Screw said, "Hey brat, don't lose. If you lose and cry, it will be embarrassing." "But the method was a little special. You will definitely not die. If you die, I will give the mechanical weapon to someone else. You will definitely be so angry that you will come back to life." These saints all joined the heroic killing group. In view of Meng Ta's wretchedness and treachery, Tang Tian was reassured to hand over the team to Meng Ta. When the light barrier was activated, Tang Tian would immediately run over to discuss with everyone. Soon, he was shocked by the idea that everyone came up with. Even he had never encountered such strength before. Tonggu and the rest knew that if they disobeyed Fu Ying's orders, they would definitely be killed by Fu Ying. They did not care about anything else and rushed into the stronghold. The Ursa Major constellation was not as strong as the Honorable Martial Alliance, but it was definitely not something that the Honorable Martial Alliance could casually suppress, which meant that they had a complicated opportunity. "All right, stop resting, let's move out, we still have many things to do." Bing said, "I more or less understand the enemy's military general's thoughts. We need to entertain our guests well." In the past, when he had just entered the army, every time he was about to go into battle, Screw would run over to encourage him. From time to time, the voices of the youths would be carried along by the breeze and entered his ears. Exen would definitely say, "Brat, you haven't made any progress even after 10,000 years. That's right." The ecstasy of being able to escape from death's door was like this. Screw glanced at the young lad. "I was afraid that you would damage the mechanical spirit weapon that I made, causing me to have to repair it again. You were in such a miserable state the last time, as expected of someone who has nothing to say and is not reliable at all. To be bestowed as a saint, how could he be weak?" Everyone had a few tricks up their sleeves, and with more firewood, the flames would rise. If they did not have Fu Ying's intelligence, they might not have many ideas. But with Fu Ying's intelligence, they would naturally be able to target them. The young lad was enraged. "Screw, don't you look down on me." Inside the light barrier of the single-valve stronghold, Tang Tian was training alone in a corner. And the saints were bombarding the ground, their faces full of joy. They had come in full of despair, and never would they have thought that the one guarding the stronghold was actually Tang Tian. "Master, this is a good opportunity. Let's fight fair and square, and defeat them wholeheartedly. Whatever bullshit honorable martial alliance, they will all be defeated by us. We must fight until the honorable martial alliance armies see us in the future and take a detour. Turning his head, Bing looked at the energetic young lads and could not help but reveal a smile. These brats are not bad, Screw and Exin. When you see them, you will definitely like them. The rest of them were also secretly shocked. This single-valve stronghold was actually so ridiculously strong. After this battle, Ursa Major Constellation's strength would have a qualitative leap. Dozens of saints, such a strength, could be said to be terrifying. Tang Tian was even fantasizing that in the future, every army would definitely be equipped with a few saints. Xiao Wu, when the time comes, you must perform well. What, Jones? How can he be your opponent? Screw, I still want to heal you, I still want to bring you to Xia Exin, we still need to find the commander, we still need to rebuild our Southern Cross army. Oh, they want to find us for a decisive battle? Bing was slightly happy. Bing's eyes slowly became more determined. Don't look down on me. This is no longer something that can be described as an Iron Man. They could not imagine how intense the battles that happened in the past few days were. It had been 10,000 years, Screw. The Bumpkin army was about to become a tyrant army. Luan said simply, I support Xiao Wu. The three of them were hailed as the Sky Marshal 3 heroes. The one who spoke was Yao. He had a head of dazzling silver hair. Tong Gu was moved. If he could research the structure of the single-valve stronghold, it would definitely be a huge contribution. In truth, he did not believe that the Guardian could hold on for so long with his own strength. Xiao Wu and the rest noticed the movements over at Bing's side, stopped their discussions and ran over. The scouts were sent out, and the troops stopped to rest. The young lads also came out from the mechanical spirit weapons. The space inside the spirit weapons was very narrow, and staying inside for a long time, it was easy for them to get tired. During rest, everyone liked to come out to get some fresh air. Xiao Wu thought for a while. With the help of the Cangyang fighting grounds, we have the advantage and there is no need to fight with them. And the quality of the enemy's soldiers surpasses us. If we fight, it will be disadvantageous to us, and we will not be able to display our superiority. Yao's words stopped abruptly. Bing slapped the back of his head. Little rascal, use your brain more. Bing smoked quietly. When he thought about it, the cigarettes were left behind by Screw. He could not help but reveal an undetectable warm smile. Bing looked at the sky in a daze. Bing laughed out loud, and turned to ask the other two, what do the two of you think? Don't worry, Screw, I'll win this battle just because of these cigarettes. Furthermore, if I lose when I meet Xian, I will definitely be ridiculed to the point that I cannot show my face. Not a single piece of the ground was intact. It was filled with potholes, big potholes stacked on top of each other, countless of them. Some of the potholes were charred black, some were covered with snow, some were melted, and the air was filled with all sorts of remnant energy. Not to mention a piece of the ground that was intact, there were no large pieces of ice or rocks, and only a thick layer of floating soil. The floating soil was as fine as flour, and it could be imagined how many terrifying attacks did they suffer to be able to shatter so thoroughly. No wonder it was lost. Yao held onto the back of his head, pouting. He stood at the side resentfully. Tang Tian's face was filled with killing intent, his heart feeling great. It was as though someone had sent him a pillow when he was asleep. Suddenly, his silver triangle trembled. Oh, there's information. The majestic Sky Tiger sat on the ground. Bing sat on Sky Tiger's shoulder, his back leaning on Sky Tiger's big head, and was puffing out smoke. Ancient Cold City. Pay. Screw you, Jinx. Not far away, the passionate discussion of the youths interrupted Bing's reminiscence. The checkpoint was even more dilapidated. There were spiderweb-like cracks everywhere. More than half of it had collapsed, and the remaining half was in ruins. It was a ghastly sight. Fu Ying, who followed behind, upon seeing the situation, although his expression was calm, his heart was filled with ecstasy. He was extremely experienced in battles. Just by looking at the remnant energy in the air, he could roughly estimate the intensity of the battle. The 7 of them were stunned by the scene in front of them. Their hearts were secretly in awe, as expected of the single-valve stronghold, to be able to withstand the attacks of so many saints. In his heart, he was somewhat glad that he did not rush in recklessly. He definitely did not believe that this was a manifestation of the gatekeeper's individual strength. None of the saints chose to resist, all of them chose to join the Ursa Major constellation without hesitation. Everyone was holding back a wave of anger. The humiliation and fear that Fu Ying had forced upon them had all turned into the motivation to take revenge. Big Sister Sai Lei said, "Whoever contributes the most will be given a custom-made mechanical spirit weapon." Bing stood up. He stood on Sky Tiger's shoulder, biting on his cigarette, looking afar, the wind blowing on his poker face. Everyone formed a small circle, and behind them, the mechanical spirit weapons formed a larger circle. This way, if they were to be ambushed, they could use the mechanical spirit weapons to fight in the shortest time possible. 30 saints as cannon fodder, they were indeed powerful. Without hesitation, Fu Ying ordered the 7 of them, "Rush in." Only the strength of the stronghold itself could last for such a long time. It was his first time encountering such a powerful stronghold. Thinking about the lightning that struck him that night, his heart still palpitated. You have ambition. But your life is more important, brat, don't die. Fu Ying, you are such a good person. I miss my leader, I really miss him. He must still be alive. Yes, he must be. If he were to die like this, how could he be fit to be our leader? That must be the strength of the stronghold itself. Luckily, the light barrier was getting thinner. Xiao Wu, Yao and Alun were the 3 most outstanding youths in the Sky Martial Wolf Academy. Xiao Wu was quiet, introverted, calm and determined. Alun was steady but tyrannical, while Yao was lively and extroverted, but a little stubborn. The young man's face was flushed red. After a while, he bellowed, "This time, it won't happen." What a terrifying attack. Chia was still the most powerful. If not for Chia asking him to come to the Sexton's constellation, how could he have earned so many saints? How could our army flag fall? How could our war song disappear? Hey, you too! Fu Ying stared at the light barrier, his face expressionless. The light barrier of the stronghold was getting thinner. Fu Ying did not hesitate to push the last few saints in. When the last saint rushed in, there was a loud rumble, and the light barrier finally broke. No saint could endure such a high-intensity battle, even he could not. The distant black and white images appeared in front of him, and unknowingly, Bing's eyes became moist, but the smile on his face widened. In the smoke, he grinned towards the sky. Chapter 5:18. On the ground, Xiao Er's adorable face suddenly revealed a trace of killing intent. His eyes turned cold. "I have long expected you to fly up and have been waiting for you." At that moment, Fu Ying rushed in from behind. After dodging a few attacks, Fu Ying regained his senses. He was still dodging, but he suddenly flew up. He was like a nimble fish, rapidly ascending and dodging at the same time. There was actually someone here who had trained in this spirit technique. This was obviously a spirit technique that only the Honorable Martial Alliance would train in. This was a spirit technique that was specially used against Blood Meridian's saints. He forcefully activated his true power, constantly changing his position, dodging the unpredictable attacks. Rumble, rumble. Although he had started to hallucinate, he was still conscious. He knew that he was in grave danger. The ferocious energy in his body flared up. Gritting his teeth, he suddenly sank down. He could feel that when the spirit domain activated his true power, it was not as smooth as usual. It was as though he was always half a beat slower. Fu Ying's heart turned cold. The opponent actually had a poison that could threaten a saint. A strong sense of danger enveloped him. Fu Ying stared angrily at the light ray in front of him and slashed. One side had planned this for a long time, while the other side was caught off guard. Furthermore, these saints hated Tonggu and the rest to the core. Usually, they would not be willing to use their trump cards, but now, they were using it all at once. One-on-one, they were not a match for Tonggu and the rest. But now that they had the advantage in numbers, Tonggu and the rest could not even lift their heads. The 7 of them who had just rushed through the opening were stunned. The surging blade aura was like a torrent, instantly breaking through the school of fish. Fu Ying did not dare to delay. His figure flashed, and he escaped through the opening. The light shuttle swept past him, leaving behind streaks of blood. But at that moment he could not care less about the pain and rushed out. Fu Ying's honorable martial protection was instantly broken. Bang! He was about to escape. Not good. Poisoned. The danger did not cause him to panic, but he did not have any intention to fight. There was only one thought in his mind: to leave this place as soon as possible. He secretly praised Xiao Er's spirit treasure. It was indeed powerful. Damn it. Soon. These people? How could they still be alive? Countless white clouds gathered from all directions, and in the blink of an eye, it was a vast expanse of whiteness. After ascending a few hundred feet, Fu Ying suddenly became alert. Something is not right. Why is it so quiet? Fu Ying's reaction was the fastest. He was the first to realize that something was amiss. Without thinking, he immediately retreated. However, the sea of clouds was faster than he had imagined. Even though it was whistling in his ears, the sea of clouds quickly devoured his figure. Fu Ying, who was descending rapidly, suddenly disappeared. Almost at the same time, he appeared tens of feet away, rushing towards the sea of clouds. At this moment he suddenly heard Tong Ji's scream. His mind trembled, and an undetectable fluctuation appeared on his body. He had experienced countless battles, but none of them were as dangerous as this. The other party had made meticulous arrangements. From the very beginning, he had been tricked. Everything was linked to each other. The mastermind behind the scenes was truly terrifying. The sea of clouds almost engulfed half of ancient Cold City. The scene was extremely spectacular. But at this moment, he didn't have the time to appreciate this beautiful scenery. Without hesitation, he flew out of the city. A streak of light descended from the sky like a meteor, flying toward Tonggu. Suddenly, his mind trembled. Without thinking, his honorable martial spirit lit up in his hands and slashed behind him. At this moment, Tang Tian, who had been hiding in the dark, suddenly had a cold look in his eyes. The origin mark box in his hands quietly disappeared into the sea of clouds. A loud shout, like thunder from a clear sky, woke Tonggu and the rest up. But the first person to react was the experienced Fu Ying. Fu Ying did not even see the people near him before he reacted. His face changed. Not good, there's an ambush. Fu Ying immediately made a decision. At this moment, the sky was undoubtedly safer. As long as he flew high enough, he would definitely be able to escape from the ambush. Furthermore, he would be able to fully unleash the power of his honorable martial spirit / What was more frightening was that he did not sense the opponent's attack at all. The sea of clouds weakened his intuition. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong with his spirit domain. The sea of clouds around him started to become blurry. He had to quickly escape from the sea of clouds. If not, he would be in danger. Whoosh! His vision cleared up as he leapt out of the sea of clouds. He did not expect that the auras that appeared around him were actually the bronze puppets. Without hesitation, his body shot up like a rocket, rapidly ascending. This was where his rich battle experience came from. Compared to the horizontal position, the vertical position was much less affected. Every step he took, the strong impact would cause the ground to crack like a spider web. His speed was extremely fast, bringing along a smear of blood. As he dodged, he frantically climbed upwards. About 500 m away from them, there was a black mass of people. Tens of saints stared at them coldly. Some of them were floating in the air, some were standing on the ground, but they formed an arc-shaped encirclement. Tonggu and the other 6 saints were the strongest among the saints. All of them had extraordinary strength. However, in just a short moment, 2 people had already lost their lives. Sea of clouds. Tong Ji's entire body was suffused with a bloody light. He struggled in the rain of light, like a trapped beast. He did not immediately attack. The Tang Tian who was in battle seemed to have changed into a different person. He was patient and experienced like an experienced hunter. He hid in the sea of clouds and did not reveal any flaws. He was waiting for an opportunity to deal a fatal blow. Fu Ying's surroundings suddenly lit up with countless light auras. These light auras were the size of barracudas. The countless light auras were like a school of fish swimming quickly. The opponent actually had such a saint. When he reacted, the white worm had already been dyed with a layer of blood, becoming like a red jade. Among the few of them, he was in the best situation. He was a blood meridian saint, so the white illusion had the least effect on him. But around him, there were countless of green light bands. These light bands were like aquatic plants, tightly wrapping around his ankles. It was as though they were made of steel wire. The bloody light on his body flashed. The light bands broke. He was like a raging bull, withstanding the rain of attacks, frantically trying to break out. Only by breaking out would he have a chance of survival. His body was suffused with a layer of bloody light. His defense was extremely strong, but the sharp blade auras that could cut through mountains only caused blood to spurt out. His entire body was bathed in blood, and the bloody light was even more intense. But his body had an astonishing amount of life force, as though he was not affected at all. Luminous vines. Tong Ji's shrill scream resonated throughout the entire city. Following that, there was a loud rumble, and a blazing blood flame rose up. He gently pulled on the thin thread. His surroundings were all white, and he could not see the end. Fu Ying, who was experienced in battles, knew that his sense of direction in the sea of clouds was often distorted. But if he were to sit and wait for death, he would definitely die. Tong Ji's face changed. The ground beneath Tong Ji's feet cracked, and a luminous vines grew crazily, wrapping around his legs. He held onto a thin thread in his hand. Only a small portion of the thread was in his hand, while the rest disappeared in the air. Just as he moved, a sharp attack brushed past the bottom of his feet. Fu Ying's heart turned cold. This blade aura definitely had a spirit value of more than 50 points. His honorable martial protection was unable to block it. The attack was too fierce. Fu Ying's heart sank. Such a ferocious sea of clouds, the spirit value must be at least 60 points. If he were to be placed in the army, such a saint would definitely be a killing machine. The battle within the sea of clouds was extremely intense. More than 10 blade auras, like a school of sharks, quietly closed in. The red light surrounding his body was visibly dimming, and Tong Gu could feel his strength being sucked away like a tide. Tong Gu and the rest were shocked to see the saints that were supposed to be dead, but they were all appearing in front of them. This scene was extremely shocking, causing them to be momentarily dazed. Tong Ji's face revealed a look of ecstasy. As long as he could rush out of the sea of clouds, his chances of escaping would increase greatly. He did not notice that within the sea of clouds, there were small white worms floating. As he rushed out, the blood aura on his body had absorbed many of these white worms. Such an unorthodox spirit technique was actually practiced by people. If it was a one-on-one battle, he would have sufficient methods to deal with such a spirit technique. But in such a dangerous situation, a slight hesitation could be fatal. These luminous vines were extremely annoying to him. They were as disgusting as flies, causing him a lot of trouble. Something was wrong. Tong Gu and the rest could only feel attacks coming from all directions. The attacks were like a torrential storm, causing them to suffocate. They were completely stunned. And the power of Fu Ying's honorable martial spirit slash had caused the saint to vomit blood and be sent flying. No matter how stupid he was, he knew that he had fallen into his opponent's trap. His battle experience was not as good as Fu Ying's, but he knew that his opponent had set up many traps. The sea of clouds that he saw as an ambush was now his last chance. Although the poison in his body was effective, the hallucinogenic effect was not enough to cause him to lose his judgment. His flying ability was not known for its speed. If he were to escape in such a state, it would be difficult for him to escape. The chaotic battle within the sea of clouds was actually more beneficial to him. As long as he could withstand the poison, he would be able to regain control of the situation. At the same time, 3 light arrows whistled through the air as they flew towards him. The poison spread throughout his body, and his vision started to crumble. No! He continued to fly upwards. Boom! Fight! But at this moment, within the sea of clouds, Tang Tian was holding his breath as he waited for Fu Ying. His heart was beating wildly. Illusion! The intense collision caused the sea of clouds to churn, but there were no signs of it dissipating. Fu Ying's mind was already in a blur, but his strong survival instincts saved him at this moment. His body moved like a ghost, and a few attacks brushed past his body. At this moment, there was only one thought in his mind. Charge! Tonggu had never imagined that there would be a day when he would be in such a sorry state. Snow leech! After flying for a few meters, he felt that something was wrong. He did not know why, but he felt a sense of fear. It was as if there was danger waiting for him outside the city walls. Fu Ying, who had just come out, felt a few auras around him. His face changed. Not good, he had fallen into an encirclement again. He suddenly realized that after flying for a few meters, the city walls did not seem to be closing in. Chapter 5:19. After a while, Tang Tian finally reacted. They had killed Fu Ying. He was sliced in half and did not even have the time to scream. The spherical beheader landed on the ground as though it was a piece of tofu. But in the next moment, a loud bang could be heard. The mud and ice on the ground were blasted into the sky. Die! All of you must die. Regardless, they had won. In truth, Tang Tian was shocked by Fu Ying's counterattack. Fu Ying's counterattack was more powerful than any other martial artist that Tang Tian had ever seen. The terrifying might of the honorable martial spirit / made Tang Tian's hair stand on end when he thought about it. Such a terrifying honorable martial spirit / could not be blocked or even touched. The spirit value was too high and the power was too shocking. The sea of clouds was kept. Some of the higher-ups did not even know where Fu Ying had died. When they found out that Fu Ying had died in ancient Cold City, they could not believe it. The first thought that came to the Leo constellation's mind was that Lei Ong must have been behind this. If not, how could anyone in ancient Cold City kill Fu Ying? When the white light disappeared, a small piece of bone and a silver Aquarius bottle fell from the sky. What about the legendary gold saints? How could the Leo constellation miss such an opportunity? Why did we choose to fight against the Honorable Martial Alliance? Because we could no longer tolerate the Honorable Martial Alliance's way of doing things. Oh, they call it a trial. They have lost their way and think that they are gods. As for us, oh, we just have to wait for the trial. Fu Ying's hysterical voice reverberated through the sea of clouds as he waved his right palm crazily. However, before they could send anyone to ancient Cold City, the news of the battle had spread to every corner of Heaven's Road. Such a scum! How could he be a member of the Honorable Martial Alliance's trial group? I do not know what qualifications he has to judge anyone. Or perhaps, if you are not satisfied, he will kill your entire family. Is this the so-called trial of the Honorable Martial Alliance? The Honorable Martial Alliance has been doing this for so many years. How many trials have they done? Who knows? Those who know are probably dead by now. One after another, the dense and astonishing blade auras shot out in all directions. The spirit value of the Honorable Martial Spirit / that was as high as 270 points, even its outer appearance had a clear change. But now, the city that was built with the fusion of cold waves and star treasures was destroyed by Fu Ying alone. Every saber radiance was as round as the sun, exuding an astonishing might and speed. All that could be seen was a white waterfall. In fact, within the Honorable Martial Alliance, Fu Ying had always been the idol of ordinary martial artists. The most common, light soul / the most common, shadow steps, and the most common, light protection, were able to create a judgment squad elite. All the saints looked at the completely destroyed ancient Cold City. They could do something to it, but no one could destroy it. However, Fu Ying was dead. Tang Tian subconsciously caught it. The bone was boiling hot, like a piece of red-hot metal. Tang Tian almost threw it away, but he quickly reacted and quickly transferred it into the Aquarius. There was not a single place left intact in ancient Cold City. In a moment, the Honorable Martial Alliance became the target of scorn, and everyone wanted to beat them up. The battle in Yunhai had ended, and Tang Tian's saints had obtained a complete victory. But at that moment, everyone was suppressed by the terrifying might, and all of their expressions changed, and they could not muster up any thoughts of resistance. On the contrary, the morale of the Leo constellation army was high. They all believed that they were resisting the tyranny of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Hero of Killers had fallen in ancient Cold City. In a moment, the Honorable Martial Alliance had fallen into an unprecedented predicament. The reputation of the Honorable Martial Alliance had plummeted. A dazzling white light surged out from the wound. A thin line of blood appeared in the middle of his body. And Tang Tian would definitely not miss out on Fu Ying's Aquarius cabinet. Tang Tian had thrown out 30 origin mark boxes in one go. His technique was extremely ingenious, and the origin mark boxes did not make any sound. Other than the shocking news itself, the video that was spread at the same time caused an uproar. Fu Ying's tyrannical, arrogant, and disregarding human life was perfectly displayed in front of everyone's eyes. Bang bang bang. Bang. I will definitely become stronger. Little fool swore in his heart. A spirit value of 270 points. More than one person had this number. This was definitely a silver-grade attack. Tang Tian was previously proud of his endless methods, but in the face of this absolute attack, he realized that he had no way of defending himself. A true Silver Saint, how strong would he be? This was a true strong martial artist. On Tang Tian's side, 5 saints had died, and all of them were killed by Fu Ying's final counterattack. The fear of death caused him to unleash all of his potential and let out a roar from deep within his throat. It was like a wild beast that was in a desperate situation, filled with madness, despair, and unwillingness. The Honorable Martial Alliance was in a terrible predicament. Even their own internal department had a different attitude towards Fu Ying's actions. Some of the elders who hated evil were enraged. What was worse was that this directly affected the morale of the frontline army. To the soldiers, justice was always a part of their morale. When the video was being spread, the military leaders of the army did not do anything to stop it at the first instance. Hence, it caused an uproar among the soldiers and the middle ranks. That is why I will not join the Honorable Martial Group. Abel, who was ranked higher than Fu Ying and was an independent saint, said, "No one present could block this attack. Song Yang, you had spent a lot of effort to build the ancient Cold City, and it flew into the sky. The ground was not stable at all. Mud and ice fragments flew up one after another like raindrops. I will definitely become stronger." Tang Tian swore in his heart. This feeling was extremely terrible, and even the joy of victory was greatly reduced. One of the saints was slightly slower in escaping. The perfectly round blade aura flew in front of him, and he did not even have the time to react. The energy barrier with a spirit value of 40 points did not stop the blade aura at all. Fu Ying, who was still falling, suddenly felt his heart beating wildly. An unprecedented sense of danger surged out from his heart and spread to his entire body. In his blurred vision, he could see the Grim Reaper grinning at him, and all the hairs on his body stood up. This sense of danger caused his mind to go blank. Fu Ying had been victorious in the battlefield, and his impressive results had continuously motivated the martial artists. He was also a role model that the Honorable Martial Alliance had specially set up to give the commoner disciples some hope and hope. The Honorable Martial Alliance had no choice but to make a statement. This was Fu Ying's personal actions, and they would investigate his actions. It had far exceeded the record of the Honorable Martial Alliance's Honorable Martial Spirit / which was 230 points. A saint of virtue and prestige voiced his strong doubts. The independent saints had their own circles, and the independent saints who were unwilling to be recruited had an almost instinctive aversion to all kinds of power. Hence, when the video was released, they were the most affected. Fu Ying's blatant use of the independent saint's family to threaten them had caused countless people to criticize him. "We can die, but we cannot accept such threats." Another independent saint, Mu Ziheng, who rarely showed his face, expressed his dissatisfaction. Fu Ying was completely engulfed by the surging white light. The white light was like a flame, shooting up to the sky. In the blink of an eye, Fu Ying, who was in the white light, turned into ashes and disappeared. There were no energy undulations from the origin seals. They were either sharp, cold, blazing, or destructive in nature. Every ray of origin seal was extremely faint, and like raindrops, they entered Fu Ying's body. Boom! At the same time that Fu Ying died, the Honorable Martial Alliance received the news. The Honorable Martial Alliance was shocked. Fu Ying was a member of the Judgment Division. He was extremely strong and had perseverance in battle. Although he was not from a good background, he was able to reach his current state through his own hard work, and that was enough to earn the respect of everyone. Everyone quietly cleaned up the battlefield. They needed a period of time to recover from the trauma of Fu Ying's death. Fu Ying had used a living example to show them that as long as they worked hard enough, no matter how ordinary their background was, they could still become a saint and even enter the Judgment Division. The powerful Fu Ying had been killed by them. Amidst the sea of clouds, Fu Ying, who was in a frenzy, suddenly heard a strange sound. He did not sense any energy undulations. He did not see that around him, the 30 origin seal boxes had all exploded. Xiao Er's face was also pale. His spirit value was only 80 points. But Fu Ying's honorable martial spirit had a spirit value of 270 points. The difference in strength between the two parties was huge. The Honorable Martial Alliance was caught unprepared. When they reacted, the situation was already out of control. Pew pew. All the saints were scared silly, and everyone tried to dodge in a panic. In the dense white light, Fu Ying's palms melted like snow, revealing his white bones. Fu Ying did not feel anything. His spirit domain expanded rapidly, and at the same time, the Honorable Martial Spirit/'s laws continued to grow. The boundaries of the laws expanded outwards, and his Honorable Martial Spirit/'s spirit value reached a shocking 270 points. 2 seconds later, the light in his right palm became extremely dense, and a suffocating power enveloped the entire battlefield. But the Honorable Martial Alliance had been running amok for so many years, and had left behind many bad deeds. Very quickly, a few of the Honorable Martial Alliance's evil deeds were exposed. Among them, there were many cases where an entire family was killed. Fu Ying stopped in his tracks. His eyes were wide open, and his face was filled with disbelief. His body was instantly filled with wounds of all sizes, but strangely, there was not a single drop of blood on his wounds. Xiao Er's face turned pale. Luckily, the previous slash was not this powerful. If not, he would have been dead by now. Tang Tian and Xiao Er clenched their fists at the same time. Regardless of whether they were stupid or cunning, their determination to win, pride, and unwillingness to lose were all the same. The saint who created flowing water, the current generation's outstanding sword Saint Pei Yong, was even more ruthless. A saint actually has to resort to such methods to win. He has already lost his saint's heart, and is only a blade of the Honorable Martial Alliance. The Lion Army's military leaders were all outstanding, and they were aware of this change. They took advantage of the situation to launch a wave of beautiful attacks. Chapter 520. It had to be said, Tang Tian's move was extremely beautiful, with some traces of Meng Ta's wretched aura. The Honorable Martial Alliance could no longer care about Sexton's constellation. The battle was thrilling and bitter, causing everyone to be extremely nervous. Fu Ying, I will definitely take revenge for you. His eyes were filled with killing intent. But pain was pain. The rewards from the battle still made Tang Tian happy. Especially the silver Aquarius cabinet on Fu Ying's body, although it did not have many star coins, but it had many good things. Fu Ying had fought everywhere and killed countless people. The spoils of war that he had obtained were naturally countless, and what he left behind were all the best. Suddenly, Little Fool's childish voice came out. I want this card. But he knew Jones's words were not the least bit exaggerated. Tang Tian turned his head and could not help but laugh. Although Little Fool was trying his best to control himself and maintain his composure, but the excitement in his eyes betrayed his thoughts. Especially the expression of trying his best to control himself when it appeared on a 3-year-old child. It would be extremely cute. Jones was expressionless. If we go back like this, we will definitely be the scapegoat, we will be finished, the Red Leaf Army will also be finished. I originally have nothing, so it doesn't matter. What about you guys? Are you planning to be banished to the Cold Palace? Or even be executed? Little Fool's contribution this time was huge. Tang Tian did not hesitate to throw graceful sword to Little Fool and could not help but exhort, "For you, but take it easy, I don't know if there are any problems with this card." Tang Tian's face was filled with shock. Tang Tian jumped in fright. All of the light auras were different. Some were tyrannical, some were soft, some were sharp, some were simple and unadorned, and what was more amazing was, all of these different auras could actually fuse and intersect, giving rise to countless changes. The sharpness could be hidden or revealed. The auras became more and more unpredictable. That was very far away from everyone. Under Tang Tian, the highest spirit value was 160 points, and Tang Tian only had 80 points. It was truly the Saint Sword Ocean Prison, the bewitching long and narrow ocean prison sword, being held by the adorable Little Fool, looked even more bewitching. The strong contrast made the bewitching feeling even more prominent. The adjutant asked, "So what?" The Honorable Martial Alliance needed a scapegoat. Fu Ying was dead, and the only one qualified to be the scapegoat was the Red Leaf Army. A blood-stained yin-yang pearl, a complete golden skull, a zither, and a spirit technique card. This was definitely an opportunity for him to soar into the sky. He thought even more, if he could occupy ancient Cold City, even if he could not find any evidence, he could still fabricate some. What the higher-ups needed now was not evidence, but a way out, a fulcrum. As long as the higher-ups were given a fulcrum, the Honorable Martial Alliance itself would have enough power to make these seemingly right but actually wrong things more real. From top to bottom, everyone in the Red Leaf Army was in a state of panic. Everyone, including him, had lost their composure. Everyone was in despair, and only Jones remained calm. If they could find evidence, then not only would the Red Leaf Army not be guilty, but they would also have done a great service. Fu Ying's matter had caused such a huge impact. When they returned, they would definitely be severely punished. The Honorable Martial Alliance would definitely not be lenient on such matters. If the Honorable Martial Alliance wanted to appease the anger of the masses, the punishment would be extremely severe. To the Red Leaf Army, it was a devastating blow. Tang Tian's eyes revealed a look of shock. That was Saint Sword Ocean Prison. He muttered, "There shouldn't be a problem with this card, right? If not, why did Fu Ying not use it?" Tang Tian was overwhelmed with shock. Could this be the graceful sword? "This subordinate will go now." The adjutant said without hesitation. There was nothing more exciting than seeing hope in such a hopeless situation. Little Fool closed his eyes. His expression was solemn. Admitting guilt would not change their situation. Instead, they might as well give it their all. The higher-ups were extremely sullen about this matter, but they did not have any strength to retaliate. If they could find even a bit of evidence to prove that ancient Cold City was a conspiracy against the Honorable Martial Alliance, then the higher-ups would definitely think of ways to prove that it was a conspiracy to discredit the Honorable Martial Alliance. Little Fool. The sword fingers spread out, and the chubby little hand grasped the air. "As long as we kill our way to ancient Cold City, we will be able to find out what is going on," Jones said calmly. "As long as we expose that this is a conspiracy against the Honorable Martial Alliance, then we will be able to clear our name." In the blink of an eye, Little Fool's body was covered with a net of light. Tang Tian was the first to be attracted by the Spirit Technique card. This Spirit Technique card was not the Spirit Technique card of the Honorable Martial Alliance. This Spirit Technique card did not have a grade on it, and only had 2 black words written neatly in thick ink, "Graceful Sword." Seeing his adjutant rushing out, Jones was in a daze. He subconsciously extended his hand out to touch the light beams that pierced through him, but touched nothing. "What is this?" The adjutant was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Then what do you want to do?" He was not even surprised that he was being executed. The bright net of light, with a speed visible to the naked eye, became as black as ink. "That's right." The adjutant no longer hesitated and pretended to say, "Master is wise." He had won, but Yi Zhaoge had fallen into his own hands. Originally, Tang Tian planned to use Yi Zhaoge to extort money from the Honorable Martial Alliance, but since he had smeared Fu Ying's name, the deal could not be done. The higher-ups used a strict tone and requested for the Red Leaf Army to return and punished him for his actions of sending troops. Fu Ying's death caused the Honorable Martial Alliance to sink into an unprecedented storm. This storm was extremely fast, causing the unprepared Honorable Martial Alliance to fall into an extremely passive situation. The front lines were continuously losing battles and had no choice but to adopt a defensive stance. Could it be a silver-grade spirit technique card? The reason why it was 200 points was because the Saints had discovered through their long-term research and observation, any spirit technique, when it occupied more than 200 points of spirit value, would have a qualitative leap, and its power would increase by a large margin. Before he could finish, he watched in shock as Little Fool used a lightning-fast speed to eat the graceful sword card like a biscuit. Crunch, crunch, crunch. A straight light beam appeared in front of him. The adjutant's eyes lit up. What Jones said made sense. Tang Tian's face was bitter. His adjutant's face changed. Little Fool seemed to have understood something. His delicate and cute face, in that moment, revealed a bewitching beauty. Little Fool suddenly pointed at one of the intersecting points of the light net, Zheng. The intersecting point suddenly lit up, transforming into a light spot the size of a coin. The faintly discernible and dense qi suddenly rushed towards Tang Tian's forehead. Jones continued, "This is our only chance, our last chance. Go and cheer for everyone. This battle is for ourselves. We can only win. We cannot lose. If we lose, we will die." Little Fool did not say a word, his entire body releasing an indescribable aura. He was immersed in a strange state, his fingers like a sword, drawing out a straight light beam. These light beams were either vertical or horizontal, crisscrossing, forming a gigantic light net. Tang Tian had a feeling that he was in a situation unable to struggle, and did not even know how to struggle. All the light spots that were like chess pieces were definitely not as harmless as they looked. The interweaving aura was fake and real, as though there was a blade behind him. Gently waving the Saint Sword Ocean Prison in his hand, whoosh, Ocean Prison Sword seemed to have melted, transforming into a black flame, dispersing into the horizontal and vertical light beams. Little Fool's eyes were filled with splendor. He flicked his fingers. One after another light spots formed, as though they were chess pieces arranged. Straight for ancient Cold City. Jones said coldly, "I was thinking before, why would Ursa Major Constellation's army enter Sexton's constellation? I know the answer now. Because Ursa Major Constellation's target is Sexton's constellation, they have people in ancient Cold City." He could not help but admire Jones. In such a hopeless situation, he was actually able to think of a way to break out of the situation. It was truly powerful. The relaxation after a big battle was the most enchanting. Tang Tian was dumbstruck. The backbone of the Red Leaf Army were all from the 10th Gold Branch, and his adjutant was a gold-ranked martial artist from the 10th Gold Branch. Jones was clear, his adjutant would usually listen to his orders, but at the crucial moment, the adjutant would only care about the benefits of the 10th Gold Branch. Tang Tian's eyes were glued to the light beams. When the void dark flames landed on the light beams, it was like a drop of water on a thin rope, flowing along the light beams. Now, ancient Cold City is at its weakest. Jones analyzed, all the Saints have become cannon fodder, and I understand Master Fu Ying very well. To kill Master Fu Ying, it is impossible to not pay a price. Ancient Cold City definitely does not have many survivors now. A vast aura of nothingness enveloped the entire area, causing Tang Tian to feel as though he was in nothingness, and all the black spots had an additional aura of nothingness and danger. ZZZ. That also meant only with 600 spirit value points and above could one become a Silver Saint. Fu Ying only had a silver rank attack and was not a silver saint. Suddenly Little Fool opened his eyes lit up, he raised his chubby little hands, with his fingers like a sword, he suddenly slashed downwards. 100 billion star coins? How could Tang Tian not feel the pain? Seeing Joan's actions, his adjutant's face changed. Master. Normally, the definition of a silver saint requires at least 200 spirit value points for an attack spirit technique, 200 spirit value points for a flying spirit technique, and 200 spirit value points for a defensive spirit technique. Just the chi in front of him was much stronger than Yi Zhaoji's glimmer. Many of them were Fu Ying's preparations to step into the silver saint rank. Jones crushed the communication treasure in his hand. And its initial spirit value shocked Tang Tian, it was actually as high as 40 points. That also meant, to train it, at least 40 spirit value points was required. One had to know, the number 1 bronze-ranked spirit technique of the Honorable Martial Alliance, Glimmer, only required 20 spirit value points, which was the peak of all bronze-ranked spirit technique cards. The originally bright spots also turned into black spots, like thick ink, like the black pieces of a Go game hanging on the black net. A sword that was flowing with black flames was slowly pulled out from the void. Tang Tian was surprised, but the surface of the card did not have any special features. Tang Tian was admiring Fu Ying's collection. After consuming the spirit technique card, Little Fool closed his eyes and quietly floated in the air. Chapter 521. A wave of ferocious chi rushed straight to his head, causing Tang Tian's mind to tremble. Little Fool's gaze was also attracted to the pearl in Tang Tian's hand. But he did not think that the pearl was ordinary, the pearl made him feel danger. It obviously did not have any chi, but Little Fool did not know why, but he felt that it contained an astonishing amount of danger. Seems like it. Tang Tian closed his eyes again, and carefully looked through the memory fragments. From what he saw, the person should be called Gui Wu. Are fools blessed with fools? All sorts of strange ideas and attempts were endless, and in this aspect the most recent success was the possession of the legendary Blood Meridian Saint. The reason why it was a legend was because no one had seen it before. Little Fool, who had Yaya Umbrella, was equivalent to having 2 spirit techniques with spirit value of 60 points. Which was equivalent to having 120 spirit value of fighting ability. This fighting ability was already comparable to Meng Ta and the rest. But the following scene caused him to be dumbstruck. Little Fool's face changed. That was the scene of the saint's spirit combusting. One could imagine how expensive spirit treasures were. Any spirit technique was not easy to train. But spirit treasures could be used immediately, of course. Spirit treasures also had limitations. Although it did not use up spirit value, but it was limited by the saint's maximum spirit value. This fellow seems to be called Gui. The flame chi was terrifying, causing Little Fool's mind to instinctively tremble. Tang Tian let out a long sigh, he slowly opened his eyes, his face revealing fear. That was close. Little Fool's Yaya Umbrella had the same spirit value of 60 points. Which was already the maximum spirit value of a bronze low-grade spirit treasure, so Yaya Umbrella was the pinnacle of the bronze low-grade spirit treasures. It was definitely not an exaggeration. What a pity! Tang Tian's face was filled with pain. If I had known, I would have sold it. Such a powerful thing, it could at least be sold for a few 100 billion star coins. Tang Tian felt that his loss this time was too heavy. Yi Zhaogu was unable to sell it. A broken pearl was actually a priceless treasure and was destroyed by him. The zero-energy body had saved his life. What a powerful spirit technique. Little Fool is becoming more and more powerful. Yaya, you have to learn from Little Fool. Tang Tian laughed. Tang Tian acted as though nothing happened and picked up the waiter from the ground and even patted the ground twice, as though he was patting away the dust on a broom, and then very amiably placed the waiter back to its original position. Ah, for you. Tang Tian generously placed the golden skull and Fu Ying's bones into Little Fool's hands. Oh, the guqin was given to Magic Flute. The guqin was much cooler than the bronze flute. What was the pearl for? A spirit technique with 60 spirit value points. Its might was already rather strong. Ordinary saints would need to train for 5 to 6 years before being able to train a spirit technique to the point of 60 spirit value. The legendary forceful subjugating bead. Legend has it that some extremely powerful bloodline saints were able to seal their saints' souls within their own blood. Once they met a suitable target, they would be able to replace their saints' souls. Yaya crawled out with a blank face. The stone was still embedded in its butt. Little fool. Well done. If not for the zero energy body, he would have become the target of someone else's possession. He did not know that it was a killing technique left behind by Fu Ying. Fu Ying had coincidentally obtained the forceful subjugating bead and knew how powerful it was. He knew that if news of it were to leak out, he would definitely not be able to keep it. Fu Ying placed it in the middle of his silver Aquarius cabinet. If anyone were to kill him and obtain the silver Aquarius cabinet, they would definitely pick up the forceful subjugating bead and study it. That unremarkable pearl was actually a forceful subjugating bead. One of the Onyx Soul's 3 blood saints, Gui Wu. I believe in the existence of the zero energy body. But up till now, it has not been realized. I have done many experiments, but I am still unable to realize it. But if the zero energy body truly exists, then it would definitely have a strong repulsion towards energy. Because only by doing so would it be able to eliminate the energy corrosion in this world. The pearl was stained with blood and was extremely unremarkable. If not for its weight, Tang Tian would have treated it as an ordinary pearl. And, thinking about the scene just now, his heart was filled with fear. If it was not for the zero energy body, then the dull blood stains became bright and demonic. It was like a living creature drilling into Tang Tian's body. Without waiting for Tang Tian to react, the blood quickly seeped into Tang Tian's blood vessels. Who exactly is it? Tang Tian closed his eyes and continued to flip through Gui Wu's memory fragments. To be able to become one of the 3 strongest blood meridians saints in the history of Onyx Soul, Gui Wu's intelligence was unfathomable. The contents of the memory fragments were extremely cryptic and difficult to understand, and extremely profound. But Fu Ying did not expect that in this world, there would actually be such a weird existence like the zero energy body. Tang Tian's zero energy body had an intense repulsion towards energy, while the saint spirit was a spirit domain that was completely converted into energy and was instinctively repulsed by Tang Tian's body. So powerful. Tang Tian was shocked. One of the 3 strongest blood meridians saints in the history of Onyx Soul, this name could definitely scare people half to death. Bang! Suddenly, the pearl spun towards Tang Tian's palm, and in the blink of an eye, half of the pearl had entered his palm. Although the saint's spirit was burnt to ashes, a few imprints were left behind. But what Tang Tian did not expect was that these imprints were actually the saint's memory fragments. It was a pity that Tang Tian did not train in blood meridians, and was not interested in these profound and difficult to understand things. He flipped through them one by one, and suddenly exclaimed, he finally found something that he could understand. Tang Tian suddenly thought of a question, then this thing should be worth a lot of money, right? After burning for half an hour, the saint's spirit was burnt to ashes. Little Fool was completely stunned. This person's saint spirit was actually able to burn for such a long time? What kind of powerful saint spirit was that? The golden skull and Fu Ying's bone, I want them. The childish voice sounded like an old man. These 2 were good things. The golden skull was an honorable martial alliance's famous saint weapon, the honorable martial cauldron. Fu Ying's bone was a saint bone. What do you think? Little Fool said snappily, a priceless treasure. With that, it was equivalent to taking revenge for himself. I have thought for a while, if there really is a zero energy body, how can it evolve? The zero energy body's characteristic is that it strongly repels energy. Maybe it can be seen as a kind of ability. Any kind of ability can be trained and improved, that is evolution. Thinking about it, the evolution of the zero energy body should be the evolution of the ability to repel energy. This idea makes me very interested. This person's saint spirit was unfathomably strong. If it was a normal body, he would have gotten it long ago. These few days I have been thinking, if there really is a zero-energy body, then how can it evolve? This is a very interesting hypothesis. After thinking for a long time, I thought of the stupidest method, which is to use a large amount of energy and gradually, continuously stimulate it. From that, let the zero-energy body evolve continuously. I guess, when the zero-energy body's repelling ability increases to a certain level, it will form a special existence that is completely different from the spirit domain. I guess it will be called Source. It will become the core of the zero-energy body. Forceful subjugating bead. Suddenly, the back of his head suffered a heavy blow. The strong force caused Little Fool, who was floating in the air, to immediately flip, and his face smashed onto the ground. He was secretly strengthening himself. If this content landed in the hands of any Blood Meridian saint, it would be an existence that surpassed the spirit law, and would definitely be viewed as a heavenly book. 60 spirit value points. Tang Tian and Little Fool were completely shocked silly. Little Fool's mouth twitched. Little Fool was already speechless. He could not be bothered with the fool. Sell? If Onyx Soul knew that this thing was in their hands, the entire Onyx Soul would definitely come out, and at that time, it would not be easy for them to die. The blood in Tang Tian's body suddenly seemed to be boiling. Tang Tian's entire body was red, like a cooked prawn. He bent his body, his face filled with pain. Tang Tian slapped the back of Little Fool's head, as if. Little Fool's face turned black. Little Fool looked at Tang Tian as if he was looking at an idiot. Not very powerful, but extremely powerful. One of the 3 strongest Blood Meridian saints in the history of Onyx Soul. Don't you think he's powerful? It could be seen that Fu Ying placed the most importance on this pearl. Tang Tian's body suddenly released a transparent flame. Inside the flame, a figure screamed out in fear, "No! Impossible! No energy! How can there be no energy? Zero energy body, huh? So there really is a zero-energy body. Endure!" Little Fool was startled. His eyes immediately exploded. He cried out in shock. "You said he is called Gui Wu?" The transparent flame released a terrifying qi, causing Little Fool to retreat in shock. That was the flame formed from the saint spirit's combustion. If one were to touch it, they would be burnt to ashes. I have to admit, the characteristics of the zero-energy body allows it to be extremely useful. Energy's damage to it is too low. If there really is a zero-energy body, and his zero-energy body evolves to the extreme, he will definitely become the world's public enemy. Little Fool closed his eyes, slowly coming out from the miraculous state, his heart filled with joy. Graceful Sword was created by someone to actually be so powerful. And he had good luck, merging the Saint Sword Ocean Prison into it, causing the spirit technique to become even stronger. I used too much power. Little Fool was satisfied. He had just started training and was able to reach 60 spirit value. His future potential was huge. What he urgently needed now was to raise his spirit domain's spirit value. Little Fool's exclamation caused Tang Tian to jump in shock. He opened his eyes in a daze. Is this Gui Wu? Very powerful? Spirit value was not only used to measure the power of spirit techniques, it could also be used to measure the power of spirit treasures. Spirit treasures did not use up spirit value, but could unleash the same effect as spirit techniques, or even more powerful. Pursuing immortality was the ultimate goal of every generation's saints. For those peak martial artists who held the power to destroy the heavens and earth and the strongest authority in the entire heavens road, the only thing that could make them fear was death. These 2 items could increase a saint's spirit domain's spirit value. Both of them were treasures that could not be bought even if one wanted to. Ordinary saints, absorbing these treasures would have a huge limit, and it would be extremely slow. But Little Fool was a form spirit. He had no difficulty absorbing them. Chapter 522. Both parties used all their strength. Tang Tian saw that Little Fool actually wanted to challenge him and immediately became enraged. And Little Fool despised the fool from the bottom of his heart. Making him lower his head was worse than killing him. But Tang Tian was still deeply attracted to Gui Wu's theory, and the problem of training had always been bothering him. Just like how the spirit domain could be strengthened, it could increase spirit value, and could train in even stronger spirit techniques, then what about the zero energy body? How could the zero energy body improve further? That was Tang Tian's most vexed question. Give me one. Tang Tian said. What was even more miraculous was that Little Fool, Tang Tian's vengeful beating actually caused Little Fool to have an obvious improvement. Little Fool's body became even more congealed, and his spirit value actually increased by 5 points. The saint jumped in fright. This subordinate doesn't dare. The congealed blade aura, when it was about to touch Tang Tian's body, suddenly twisted and became extremely unstable. Bang, a light sound came out. The trembling crescent blade aura crumbled into a fine aura and disappeared. So when Tang Tian and Little Fool appeared in front of everyone jumped in fright. Tang Tian was enlightened. I understand now. It's to take a beating. That's right, it's to take a beating. As long as you take a beating, your skin will become thicker. This method is brilliant. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. No problem, no problem. I asked you to give me one. Just give me one. Tang Tian said. There were many saints in ancient Cold City, and they were extremely united. Before, there were still people who had doubts, but after the battle, they no longer had any doubts. By killing Fu Ying, they had already offended the Honorable Martial Alliance. By killing Tong Gu, they had also offended Onyx Soul. They were very clear that other than Tang Tian, no one else could protect them. Gui Wu's theory made Tang Tian's eyes light up as if he saw the light. Although the fool was unreasonable and vented his anger from training on him and beat him up to vent his anger, but he had never stopped training halfway. All the attacks during training, this fellow would completely endure it and would definitely not be discounted. Little Fool did not expect this, but he would never thank Erwo. In fact, he had some respect for Dumbass. Without Dumbass's permission, he could not attack Dumbass. Should I reduce my strength? A few of the saints who were closer subconsciously took a few steps back. Only then did they feel the pressure lessen. Tang Tian was covered in wounds and his clothes were in tatters, but no one cared. All the saints looked at Tang Tian in shock. Tang Tian was emitting an aura that made them feel extremely uncomfortable. It was as though they were being suppressed. What a ruthless fellow! Tang Tian and Little Fool were killing each other crazily. Tang Tian was even more pleased. It's not a spirit treasure either. And Tang Tian's zero energy body, under such crazy training, improved greatly. Tang Tian's body could already endure spirit techniques with 50 spirit value points. Attacks below 30 spirit value points, before they could even touch Tang Tian's body, they would be forcefully repelled and destroyed. Bang bang bang. Little Fool sneered in his heart, but his expression did not change, and said in his childish voice, "Seems like it." Don't talk nonsense. Tang Tian spat on the ground. Tang Tian was excited. Come, Little Fool, let us try. Tang Tian showed off. Who has a spirit technique with 30 spirit value points? And then he would be beaten up even more. All the saints looked at Little Fool with fervent gazes. The world's public enemy, Tang Tian did not care at all, thinking about Ursa Major Constellation's large-scale reduction of energy transformation. Oh my, the world's public enemy seems to be a bit too much. Little Fool's face was gloomy. Seeing the happy look on Erwo, he felt extremely unhappy. Independent saints usually trained extremely hard, lacking communication, lacking guidance. No one knew who suggested for everyone to exchange their experiences, but it received everyone's support. Following Meng Ta and the rest's unreservedly sharing their own training experiences, the atmosphere became even more heated, and everyone took out their usual trump cards. The hatred between both parties rose quickly. But the price to pay was that Tang Tian's entire body did not have any good spots. Little Fool did not make a sound, his face was harmless, and said in his childish voice, "A large amount of energy, it should be a spirit technique." The light aura of the spirit technique struck onto Tang Tian's body like rain, causing Tang Tian's entire body to tremble like a sieve. Truly a real man of iron blood. Little Fool praised while increasing the power of the spirit technique. Finally, it's time for revenge. This sentence immediately caused many of the saints' eyes to light up. There were many spirit techniques that had a suppressive effect. This type of spirit technique was highly sought after by the powerful saints. It was able to exert pressure on others mentally and psychologically. Little Fool continued to release spirit techniques, the energy striking onto Tang Tian's body, causing Tang Tian's body to tremble like a sieve. Tang Tian opened his eyes wide, his face filled with pain, and stared fiercely at Little Fool. With that, everyone started to think even more. If it was not a spirit technique, could it be a spirit treasure? Everyone became excited. Little Fool's spirit treasures were actually so powerful? This was definitely an effect that only high-level spirit treasures could have. But the following scene caused them to be dumbstruck, to the point that their jaws almost dropped to the ground. If it was someone else, maybe they would put their energy into helping Little Fool. But to Tang Tian's understanding, Little Fool was his own person. Little Fool was Little Fool. He was himself. Was he going to let Little Fool go in the battle? And he could only hide behind Little Fool? The godlike young lad was definitely unable to tolerate such a stifling way of fighting. And very quickly, some of the saints threw out some of the doubts they had during their training, and immediately attracted the interest and resonance of many of the saints. Everyone formed groups of 3 to 5, and started to discuss enthusiastically. Truly a real man of iron blood. Tang Tian was about to explain, when suddenly he felt an intense undulation. He was startled, but quickly reacted, and rushed out of the house. All of them had experienced the same battle, faced the same predicament, and between them, they trusted each other even more, and were even more united. Tang Tian was instantly happy. He patted Little Fool's head, and said, "Little Fool is so obedient. It's fine, it's fine. It definitely can't hurt me. The power at the start is not so strong." For the next few days, from time to time, there were saints who broke through and gained enlightenment. Everyone's face was brimming with joy, and many of the topics they discussed were beyond imagination. Little Fool laughed coldly in his heart. "You asked for this yourself." In this period of time, he had been tormented by this fool, to the point that he had almost lost all hope in life. Now that such a good opportunity was presented to him, how could he let it go? "You were the one who asked me to hit you. Why did you hit me?" Little Fool asked back. Master, this is..." Meng Ta stammered. He was also shocked. He did not expect that Master actually trained in such a spirit technique. Every saint was immersed in such an excellent atmosphere. They had never experienced such a pure discussion before. Saints were always on guard against each other. Every single one of them was afraid that others would find out about their true strength. Every saint was extremely intelligent and talented. In such a passionate and pure discussion, sparks of inspiration would fly out from time to time. Bang bang bang. After a round of training, Tang Tian, who was covered in injuries, walked to Little Fool expressionlessly, grabbed Little Fool, and swung him up, smashing him violently. A spirit technique with 30 spirit value points was already very powerful. If not for the energy barrier or the protection of the saint blood, he would definitely be sliced into 2. Tang Tian's previous train of thought was to destroy the enemy's spirit domain, but he did not have any good ideas on how to effectively destroy the enemy's spirit domain. But Gui Wu's idea helped him perfect his way of thinking. The zero-energy body's characteristic of repelling energy was extremely suitable for the path of destruction. If this ability could be continuously improved, then this path would truly be able to be walked. Little Fool, shut up. A golden pillar of light surged out from the ground, soaring into the sky, straight into the clouds. But he did not immediately agree and said, "What if I injure you?" Tang Tian scratched his chin with a face of distress. "Little Fool, what do you mean by using a large amount of energy to gradually and continuously stimulate it?" Tang Tian was unreasonable. "I don't like it. Vent my anger. How can I be the only one getting beaten up?" Master, what kind of suppressive spirit technique did you train in? Meng Ta's eyes lit up, he could not help but ask. Tang Tian was immediately pleased, he shook his head. It's not a spirit technique. Everyone became even more curious. Little Fool sneered in his heart, then attacked even more heavily. All right, everyone's understanding of brilliant was not even on the same level. But taking a beating. Little Fool, who was being patted on the head, had an innocent face, but deep in his eyes, there was a gloomy look. Ah! Tang Tian's screams of pain rang out incessantly. Over and over again. Little Fool was violently beaten by Tang Tian, causing the earth to shake and the mountains to shake, dust flying everywhere. Clenching his teeth and waiting for Tang Tian to stop, he once again floated up into the sky. Coldly staring at Tang Tian, he squeezed out a sentence from his teeth. The second round of training is about to begin. Little Fool did not say a word as he was beaten black and blue. He would definitely not beg for mercy from the fool, it was too shameful, he wanted to return all the pain double. Little Fool was already too lazy to curse in his heart. Brilliant? Such a stupid method? Everyone looked at each other, a saint stood out. This subordinate's crescent blade, coincidentally trained to 30 spirit value points. The surroundings were silent. Everyone was completely shocked by this unimaginable scene. For the next few days, this kind of rapid escalation of conflict-type training caused Tang Tian and Little Fool to become enemies, their eyes extremely red. When the saints of ancient Cold City heard the rumbling sounds coming from the training room, they could not help but reveal looks of respect. After obtaining a shocking victory, Master was still training so bitterly, no wonder he was called godlike young lad. Does it hurt? Little Fool's voice was like a demon. Do you want me to reduce the power? The childish voice made his words filled with childishness. The saint hesitated for a while, then released a crescent blade aura, seeing the blade aura getting closer and closer to Tang Tian, but Tang Tian did not make any movements. Everyone was shocked. And Tonggu and the rest spoils of war allowed everyone to make a small fortune. Yaya shrunk into a corner, looking at the two crazy people with a face of fear. It was completely at a loss. Are they playing? Such a scary game. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.